Good morning. It is a Monday edition of Glenn Clark Radio. I'm Glenn. He's Griffin. Much to do on the program today. Orioles took 2 out of 3, but the Bats did kind of go silent again as the weekend went on against the Pirates. We'll talk about it. Coming up a little bit later on this morning, our buddy Rick Dempsey is back. He's back in town. Got hooked up with the Baseball Warehouse, which we like. He was at the Orioles game yesterday. Would have been nice to have seen some runs. We'll talk with Rick. We love Uncle Rick around these parts. Also this morning we will preview Orioles Angels gets underway. Griffin was right the first time. Should have trusted his gut. Shohei Ohtani pitches tonight against Grayson Rodriguez. A nice little...
I knew the whole time.
Yeah. The thing is, you screwed it up on Friday.
Well, I just...
No. You screwed it up on Friday.
I didn't confirm it.
No, you screwed it up on Friday.
Screw it.
No, you did.
Screw is a strong word.
No, you screwed it up on Friday. And this is where, again, I know this is a difficult thing for people of a certain age. Just a little accountability. You're right. I screwed it up. I'm sorry. I should have.
I was right 4 days in a row.
And what happened on Friday?
I just didn't quintuple down.
No. You said something else.
I said it.
This is not hard.
I said it may look like they want him to start Tuesday.
Just acknowledge you got it wrong.
I don't think
Nobody's going to take you to the firing squad. You're not going to be executed in front of your family. Just acknowledge you got it wrong, and then we can move forward, and life will be okay. It's not hard.
I don't think I got it wrong.
You did get it wrong. You said Tuesday.
I said it looks like.
Yes.
They may want him to go Tuesday.
And what is he going on
After
Tuesday?
No, he's not.
No.
He's going
Stop.
tonight.
Nobody's asking about what happened on Thursday. What happened on Friday? What happened on Friday?
There's a little bit of confusion. There's a little bit of confusion.
No, there was
all
not
over.
a little bit of confusion.
All over. There was confusion.
What did you say? What day did you say he was going to pitch?
I don't remember exactly what I said.
It's not hard. I don't know why we struggle so much. Accountability, it's a millennial thing. It's like
I'm not even a millennial.
What are you, a post-millennial?
Yeah, I'm post-millennial.
Oh, God.
I'm a Gen Z.
Even worse, you probably smell.
Gen Z. No, I don't.
Jesus Christ. That guy smells. I was around him at Preakness that year. He stunk. Like, smelled. It was an odor. It was a I haven't showered in a month type of odor.
Well, that's how you know he makes good music.
Well, he doesn't make good music.
Well,
He's had like 3 good songs.
He's made one of the greatest songs of all time.
What?
Sunflower.
That was a good song, yes. I agree. That's the one.
Circles is pretty good.
It was not.
He's got a lot of good music.
No. He's got a lot of what
Congratulations.
people of a certain age believe passes as good music because you're not sure what good music is.
No,
Sunflower
I know what good music
was good
is.
music. I don't believe that, actually.
3 of the greatest songs of all time, I think.
No. Not even in...
Come on.
My God.
Congratulations. Circles and Sunflower.
God.
That's a...
I can't do this. I can't work in these conditions. I can't.
It's all right. We're not going to talk. We're going to talk about Tyler Wells and Cedric Mullins.
I got to go. There's got to be a better way for me to spend my day. There's just got to be a better way for me to spend my day. Later on in the morning. I don't know. Maybe later on in the morning, or maybe I'm just going to quit. Later on in the morning.
As I said, I like Post Malone.
No. It's nothing wrong with you liking Post Malone. I like lots of things. I don't just make up hyperbole. First of all, Post Malone's not very good. That's okay. I understand that for your generation, he's not. But I understand that your generation has kind of embraced him. By the way, you're not the only one. Friggin' Bob Baffert came to town once and was raving about Post Malone. There are people that really like Post Malone. His music isn't classically good. It's just sort of when we've kind of dumbed everything down and taken away like the concept of what music is supposed to be, it feels like it's speaking to you. And I get that. And I acknowledge that I have music that I care about a great deal because it spoke to me when I was a young person. Now, I don't try to confuse it with being the greatest.
There's a lot of greatest songs of all time, is my point.
No,
and
I love the
when
band.
this song plays in 20 years.
Here's the deal. I love I'm trying to think if there's anything that Post Malone has done that will be memorable in 20 years.
I think those 3 songs I just named.
I think Sunflower has a chance. Sunflower is actually a good song. There's like actual musical sequencing involved. Post Malone's not a good singer. He's not a good rapper. He's just sort of somebody that can do any of these things. And again, we don't think that it matters anymore whether you can sing or not. We just say, go ahead. We gotten over that some time ago, whether or not you're good. We were like, go do it anyway. Go ahead. We'll fix it in production and make it sound like you're a good singer.
When he's got talent. When he does I Fall Apart acoustic, I mean,
nobody's arguing. By the way, the best thing I ever heard him do is he did like a Nirvana cover during the pandemic.
There you go.
And he's still not a good singer, but like I had never heard him play the guitar, and it sounded really good. I was like, this man has more talent than his music lets on. It's just not singing. He's not a classical singer. He's somebody that decided he was going to be a singer. And again, we live in the era where you don't have to be able to sing in order to be a singer.
I gotta find out when he's on tour again. I want to go just to spite you.
That's not going to bother me. You got to understand, you going to see Post Malone will have no impact on my life whatsoever. That part, I want you to go. I want you to have a great time. But in the same way that I loved the band Eve 6 when I was a kid, I am never going to attempt to suggest.
Don't compare Post Malone to Eve 6.
You're right. Eve 6 was better.
No,
they were. I mean, this is all due respect. Their music was better. But that being said, I understand he's speaking to people, and that's just what we do, and that's what matters. It's just that we don't throw around hyperbole because of it. The greatest songs. Nonsense.
They're really good songs.
There's one that's really good. He made a really good song.
He's in Amsterdam Friday.
There you go. Hop on a plane. Yeah. Go have yourself a time. What the hell is going on around here? I don't like anything that's happening.
He's in Manchester tomorrow night.
He's in Manchester tomorrow night. Great.
My hometown.
Great. Oh yeah, Manchester. He playing in Carroll County. He's going out there. What would be the biggest venue in Manchester?
The high school.
Yeah, Manchester Valley.
Yes.
You're just playing
That'd
in the
be
gym.
pretty sick.
You know what? I would still pass. I would still say, you go have yourself an evening. I'm in a tough spot because I want to go to the game tonight, but I don't know if I'm going to be able to or not. I got a lacrosse game this afternoon. I got things thinging around these parts. I don't know how it's going to work out for me.
Yeah, I'm kind of in the same boat at this point.
What? What do you got?
I'm going over to the other station after this.
Oh,
and I'm going to be there.
You have to be there till
probably pretty late. But then I got another thing tomorrow.
What do you mean you got to be there till pretty late? What's pretty late?
I don't know. I don't know how long they want me to stay. I don't want to.
Well, maybe you should ask.
I don't want to just leave.
Okay, but again, I think that you can ask. Like, are they planning on having you there until 2 in the morning?
I don't think so.
Okay, well then maybe you'd be able to go. It's a very weird bit that you're doing over there.
Well, there's other stuff I got to work on. I don't know.
Okay, well, yeah. I mean, look, you do you. I don't know if I'm gonna make it or not. I would really like to go though. I'm gonna see if I can't get out there at some point this week. Yeah. By the way, later on in the show, before I get thrown off by Griffin trying to rave about Post Malone. By the way, legitimately smelled. That's not shtick. That's not shtick.
I would be honored to smell his stench.
What is wrong with you? What is wrong? What?
He's the artist of a generation.
Oh my God. The most terrifying part about that sentence is that there's a chance it might be right. That's the terrifying part about it. Is that like you might not that one of all the things you said.
Just because he smelled bad,
I can say other things are no. His music is my problem. I can say other things are hyperbole. Like I can understand that you again either you just lack of context or you're prone to hyperbole. You can say certain things, but you might not be wrong. Like it might very well be that he is the artist of a generation, which is just wretched. It's so wretched. Oh, I hate everything. I just want to go home, man. This world is just not for me anymore. I'm like Rita. I need that asteroid already. Like, let's just end it. Let's just end it already. For God's sakes, nothing good is happening here. What were we talking about? Oh, yeah,
got a good show today.
Marty Mornhinweg's going to join us. He was with the Ravens the last time they went to London, and it didn't go well. So maybe he can explain to us what happened. Maybe he can explain to us why it is that it was such an ungodly disaster, because I could sense that when the next trip to London was announced, there were a few of you that were like, I'd kind of rather not. But believe it or not everyone has gone to London and got their brains beat in. So what happened to the Ravens that they got their brains beaten in London? Like, can we just blame London? Because Jacksonville went to London too, and they were just fine.
It was the cruise ship that they took over.
Right, the cruise ship that they announced on April Fool's Day that legitimately people bought.
I mean, I believed.
Of course you did. Of course you did.
I mean, I was 16 listening to Post Malone. I guess
that's what happened to our society. It's what's happened to us. We have nothing to offer the world any longer. God. Also, Jeremy Conn joins us because it is a Monday. Today's show brought to you by A.J. Michaels. Expert and award-winning A.J. Michaels Heating, AC, Plumbing, and Home Performance will improve your home's energy efficiency and comfort levels. AC season is here. New rebates and discounts are available. More at ajmichaels.com. Obviously, Friday night was a very special night at the ballpark, and it's funny. I tweeted about this. It's on Friday morning. Stan brought. I'm writing about Cedric today at PressBoxOnline.com. Stan and I were talking about the coming log jam that the Orioles are going to deal with, and Stan reminded, and that's not his idea. It's something we've talked about for some time. Going into the season, there were a lot of questions about how certain people fit in to the moving forward roster situation for the Baltimore Orioles, whether it be Anthony Santander, Austin Hayes, or even Cedric Mullins. It was one of the bigger storylines for this baseball team coming into the year, was trying to figure out who's part of a championship contending roster, who maybe isn't. Whether it's because they're not quite good enough, whether it's because their value might be more on the trade market, whatever the reasoning being, with the resets being at Adley Rutschman and everything after, like the Counting Crows, Rutschman and everything after. With that sort of being the reset, the question kind of became who from before Adley Rutschman is definitely part of this thing. And we kind of had some laughs about this, that for as fun as last year's season was, if you told me, hey, guarantee how many of these players are going to be part of a true championship contending roster in Baltimore, I would have said Adley and Gunnar. And that's the list. As far as position players are concerned, I can't even get in on the other side. That literally, I said multiple times, was the extent that I was willing to say with confidence, these guys are definitely part of it. Which wasn't to say I think that no one else will be part of it. It's that I didn't know who else could be part of it. And figuring out whose window would line up with the Orioles' window for championship contention, in part, what is the Orioles' window for championship contention? Age of those players, whether or not the team would commit to them, all of those questions. And Cedric Mullins was squarely in that conversation. So on Friday morning, Stan reminded, as we were talking about, the possibility of what they could do at the deadline, Stan was like, well, there's also the possibility that we could trade Cedric Mullins. And if you heard my kind of guttural reaction, it was, I've changed my mind about that. You can't trade Cedric Mullins. He does too much. There's too much value there. No, he's not going to be the player that he was in 2021. That was an anomaly. But he does too many other things for you to trade Cedric Mullins. And, of course, then we have what happened Friday night, right? Now, it was funny because from that conversation I had with Stan, Josh Charles started texting me, despite the fact that he's in Paris, at like 3 a.m. Paris time, as we were both watching the game. And we started talking about Cedric Mullins. And it was like right after the catch. I'm still very frustrated about it because he hit the cycle. Like everybody's forgotten about.
I was like, what catch? Oh, yes,
yeah,
that's right.
the catch. And I started saying, hey, did you listen today? Your uncle and I were talking about Cedric.
Stan said he wants him gone.
No, he didn't. He didn't say that. That's unfair to Stan. But Josh was like, yeah, I listened today, and I agree with you. And we kept going. We just spent like 5 minutes texting each other about how much we love Cedric Mullins. And then that happened. That creates the most iconic moment for Cedric Mullins and starts to – I don't want to be, again, unlike Griffin who loves hyperbole, I don't want to be hyperbolic about it. I don't want to suggest that suddenly because he had one really special night, it vaults Cedric Mullins into the pantheon of the great stars in Orioles history or something like that. But it does create an iconic moment for Cedric Mullins. That will be remembered even more so than other Orioles. No one remembers that Jonathan VR hit for the cycle. No one. Jonathan VR might not remember that Jonathan VR hit for the cycle. Yeah. No one remembers that. For some reason, we all remember that Felix P.A. did, but it's just because it was so utterly bizarre.
And, of course, Aubrey Huff.
Right, and Aubrey Huff hit for the cycle. I think most of us had not most of us, I think a lot of us had forgotten that Austin Hayes hit for the cycle just last season. But the nature of what Cedric Mullins did, again, hitting this big home run, and the night that they introduced the Bird Bath, and they're cutting to the camera, and the splashing, and it creates a really iconic moment and a memory that will stick with us for some time. And it was in that moment that I started reconsidering the way that I look at Cedric Mullins. And diving more in on, I didn't realize this. You know, Cedric Mullins actually leads the team in WAR right now.
Does he?
Which is a little surprising to me. I would have assumed Mateo and Rutschman were a bit
Mateo was
higher.
leading for a while. I guess
Mateo's cooled off a little bit. And it's very close. It's like 1.4 for Cedric Mullins. It's 1.3 for Rutschman, maybe 1.2. Like, nobody's running away in the WAR department. But at the moment, Cedric Mullins has a slight lead. And, of course, he led the team in WAR in 2021. And I don't know that I realized he was second in WAR a year ago, behind, obviously, only Adley Rutschman. And I started thinking about some things. And I think this weekend became kind of an eye-opening moment for me. And as much as I felt what I felt on Friday, and I did, I had started to look at Cedric Mullins in a different light. Yes, right now, what he's doing with runners in scoring position this season is absurd. He can't, it's impossible to stay on that pace. He cannot hit .455 with runners in scoring position for the entirety of the season. That's where you're supposed to say, well, not with that attitude.
Not with that.
Don't worry, I'll teach you a thing or two. You can keep listening to Post Malone. I'll handle all of the broadcasting. That can't happen. But he hit 280 or so with runners in scoring position a year ago. It was coming that he was improving in that department. And even as that number cools off as the season goes on, what I've accepted is that Cedric Mullins is a different type of player. He's not going to be a 30 home run hitter. That's insane that he ever did that. He's also on pace to steal something like 50-some bases this year. I don't think that's going to...
And go 50 for 50.
Right, I don't think that's going to happen. I don't think that's going to happen either, although it could. That's the crazy part. Like, if he can stay healthy for the entire season, it's not impossible that he could steal close to 50 bases this year. And the bigger point being that if the rules remain the same, that even in the coming years, if his speed diminishes even slightly, I think he's still a relevant base-stealing threat, and his speed still plays because of the way that the rules have changed, where he might not be in 4 years a 50 stolen base guy, but he could still be a 25 to 30 stolen base guy. All of this is to say, I'm starting to think that the Orioles can almost do what they did with Adam Jones with Cedric Mullins. And I'm not trying to make Cedric Mullins Adam Jones. Adam Jones was a better power hitter for sure, and I think an overall better player than Cedric Mullins. Although when Cedric Mullins has been at his best, you could argue Cedric Mullins has been better. It's just that, again, you almost have to dismiss the 30 home run thing. You almost have to pretend like that never happened because it's so unlikely he's going to do it again. But at the time, the Orioles had their guy. It was Manny Machado. He wasn't there yet, but Manny Machado in 2012, everyone knew was the Orioles' superstar future. And yet they chose to invest in Adam Jones. Now, as disappointing as it is the Orioles screwed up the Manny Machado thing, Adam Jones became a central figure for a generation of winning Orioles baseball. Everyone knows now that Adley Rutschman is the face. He's the superstar. He's the guy. And we all want to see the Orioles invest in Adley Rutschman. I'm not suggesting that if they were to spend money to give an extension to Cedric Mullins, that should pacify us should they not sign Adley Rutschman. But I think the value of it is significant. And I've come around on the idea that if they're not going to get Adley Rutschman done, at least not now, they could buy a lot of good favor from this fan base at a much more affordable price. Cedric Mullins' situation is so unique because he's going to be past 30 by the time he becomes a free agent. It's just such a unique situation that he finds himself in. If I'm the Orioles, I have the chance to do a 5, maybe a 6-year deal that takes him into his mid-30s, is not extraordinary in how much it costs. It's in the neighborhood of like the Byron Buxton deal. It certainly wouldn't cost as much as Adley Rutschman appears like he would cost at this point to avoid free agency. And to still make a statement with this fan base about, hey, this is our guy. Celebrate him. Celebrate the role that he has played in getting this team to this point and the role he's going to continue to play moving forward. And while he might never be a star of stars in baseball, the way that Adley Rutschman has the chance to be, he is a central figure and an exciting reason for you to want to get to the ballpark. And you have moments that you have shared, that you've loved with him. And it all kind of came in clear to me over the course of the weekend. Again, I'm writing about it today at PressBoxOnline.com. But I think that it really stood out to me that there's an opportunity there for the Orioles, again, to plant their flag with someone and to say, this guy is part of this. We're confident about that for at least the next 5 to 6 years. Today's show is brought to you by PressBoxOnline.com/offers. Of course, you're betting on baseball legally on your phone for the first time ever in the state of Maryland this season. And if you want to do that, you should make sure you take advantage of all of the great incentives and offers that are available to you. Like, for example, right now, DraftKings is offering you the opportunity. I don't know why somebody got rid of my read here. I don't know what happened there. Oh, there it is. Thank you. I was trying to vamp, make it sound professional. Boy, what a professional I sound like now. DraftKings is offering you up to $1,000 in a deposit bonus match, plus a $50 free bet. But you got to go to PressBoxOnline.com/offers and click on the DraftKings logo in order to take advantage of it. Orioles Angels starting tonight for 4 games. Of course, the big one tonight, Shohei Ohtani on the mound. Joining us, of course, outstanding former MLB pitcher, now color analyst for the LA Angels. He is Mark Gubicza, and he's with us now here on GCR. Mark, it's Glenn. It's great to chat with you, man. Thank you so much for taking a couple of minutes for us.
No problem. Hey, great save on that read, man. It's not easy to do, man.
Dude.
You sold me on it.
You know, I appreciate the fact that you're giving me credit for it. I thought I could still keep holding on to, like, that beat of the, well, it's a great offer, and hey, I vamped for so long in this business that I just couldn't do it. I had to be able to come up with that piece of paper in front of me. Hey,
been there, done that. I know that.
You know, I have no doubt that somebody hands you a paper during the course of the broadcast, says, hey, you got to get that in, and then you put it to the side at some point, and you say, where'd it go? What the hell happened there? Mark, you know, this is such a – look, it's weird because a week ago the Rays were in town, and I didn't feel the juice despite the fact that these were 2 of the best teams in baseball. But yet the Angels come to town, and it's all everybody in town is talking about. Well, I got to get to the ballpark. I got to see Shohei Ohtani. I got to see Mike Trout. I got to do it. How kind of strange has it been? Because it's got to have been feeling like you've almost been around the Beatles these last few years, and yet, of course, we all know the flip side, which is without the results that clearly everybody in Anaheim was hoping for over these last 5 to 10 years.
Yeah, Glenn, I'll tell you, everywhere we go, you know, whether it's, you know, even at home, it's every time when Shohei is on the mound, and obviously he's going to be hitting in the same game. You got Mike Trout, too, hitting either right in front of him or right behind him in the lineup. The excitement level is incredible everywhere. And, you know, because especially with Shohei when he's on the mound, you just don't know if that's going to be one of those moments as a baseball fan. You're going to go, wow, right. I've seen something that I've never seen before. And he hasn't really pitched a whole lot against the O's in his career. So if you're an Oriole fan, I mean, you know, it's one of my all-time favorite ballparks, Camden Yards. I mean, you got to be running down there. It's going to be a blast tonight, especially the weather looks great. You know, the team, you know, has had many opportunities to win games this year. A few games have gotten away. They've been really competitive late in games. Their offense has been great. But, you know, again, like you said, you got to start, you know, get to the point where you just every game you go out there, you're going to win. And you got to get to the postseason. So it's as tough as it's been, they're still a game over 500. There's some things they got to clean up. They played a pretty good defensive series, this last one out there. So hopefully that's something that carries on like they did against the Guardians, because that was something early on with guys playing out of position has been an issue, but it's getting better, that's for sure.
Mark, how do you define it? How do you explain so much talent, so much investment, and yet just not quite there? We all see it, and of course the internet laughs about it, but it's the Tungsten Armo Doyle tweet over and over again. But how is it possible that the Angels have had this much and yet this little to show for?
Yeah, I mean, Glenn, that's a great question. And like every game, I still feel like I'm out there pitching with my teammates, but doing this broadcast thing, you just go. I'm scratching my head. I'm thinking, there's games, you almost kind of pencil in your book. Okay, that's a W, and then all of a sudden things go crazy and it doesn't work out. I think they're starting to build a feeling they did in spring training. I know Mike Trout said it right away in spring. This is it's a huge year for many reasons. One, obviously that's your goal every year, is to go to the postseason and win a World Series. Two, you want to be successful, so you make sure that Shohei Ohtani really does want to stay here and sign long term with the Angels. So many things come into play. I think the guys know this, and you want to go out there and win every single game. Like every team wants to do that, but they're at the point now where they got to put together a winning streak, and now they're going in against a team like the O's right now, who are playing exceptional baseball. That they know this is going to be a tough one, 4-game series here, but there hasn't been one game, really, maybe 1 or 2 games all season where you thought, wow, they didn't play real well. They've had opportunities, and they've had leads in almost every single game so far this year, one point or another. At some point, you're going to start winning them. They just got to get that attitude that once you get the lead, we're going to hold on and going to win games.
He is Mark Gubicza, of course, former World Series champion, now with the Angels broadcast team. He's with us here on GCR. Mark, I know that both Mike Trout and Anthony Rendon were out of the lineup yesterday. Are they both good to go for this week?
Yeah, I was pretty much a scheduled day off with an off day, and Trout came in the pinch hit, and he crushed the ball. But I even talked to him last night. I even texted him after we were commiserating about the Sixers game last night.
I know. Oh, right, 2 Philly guys. Sure, yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, I said, dude, I mean, the launch angle and exit velocity, that's got to be a home run, but the wind was really howling in from center field, so he'll be ready to go today and put up some numbers. Anthony Rendon's another story. We don't know the extent of the groin issue he has right now. That it might be a few days. They might put him on the IL. I don't know 100% yet. There hasn't been anything official, but he definitely wasn't comfortable coming out of the game 2 nights ago.
Okay, we'll monitor that this week. I want to go back to Shohei if I could. You brought up, obviously, his future, and I think that's a major question that sort of stands all over baseball. But just take me through how many times, as a broadcaster, how do you define it? Like, how do you possibly explain in words what it is that you're watching? Because it's just impossible to me, and it's why I do think that you're going to have 6,000 or 8,000 more fans show up at the ballpark tonight than maybe a typical Monday night game in Baltimore. Like, what? It's impossible for me to even get the words out to ask about it because it's so insane what it is that we've watched with this man.
Yeah, I know. It's almost like, Glenn, right now we're taking it for granted. But then I step back and I go, this is unreal. I mean, there's always those comparisons with Babe Ruth. And, he just passed Babe Ruth's,
right.
all time, what he struck batters out, like 501 it was, or 502 when it officially came out. And then I still go back to this 2-game set he had last year against the Kansas City Royals where, as a batter, the night before he's DHing, he's pitching the next day. So that day he had 2 3-run home runs, drove in 8 runs, which is in itself is an incredible game. Then he followed up the very next day with 8 shutout innings with 13 strikeouts, which was the career high for him in that game. And I'm thinking, how in the world does that happen? How do you do that in back-to-back games? I'm pretty sure that, as I remember, I don't think that's ever happened in a week, let alone back-to-back games or even in a season for somebody to do that. So every day you go and watch him, like he's throwing, a sinker out of nowhere, and it's 97 miles an hour. And then he's throwing a slider/sweeper. I know that's a terminology we're all using now. That it makes hitters look like they have no chance at the plate. And then one game he'll throw a split-finger fastball in the first, and then he won't throw it again to the 6th. And one day, I mean, this put in perspective how crazy this dude is. he threw a curveball in the 5th inning. And granted, he hadn't thrown one like the whole game, and it had a 73-inch vertical drop. I mean, that's not human.
What is
That's
that?
not human. Yeah, it's not human. And I'm thinking, well, how's he doing this? And he's swinging the bat. I mean, his batting average this season, granted, he doesn't have as many home runs on the day he pitches, well over 300. I have no idea how he does it. I could barely get out of bed the next day after I pitch, and yet he's hitting a fastball at 98 miles an hour, going 450 feet. I mean, it's so cool to say we're watching this, because I can't imagine anyone ever doing this again. It really would be almost impossible, because he plays like 150 plus games every year, along with what he's doing on the mound. It's mind-boggling.
Look, I know we're going to be talking about insane numbers. I mean, there have been like conversation about him being a $60 to $70 million a year ball player because of everything he does. Do you have a sense at all for, like are the Angels willing to pay an amount of money we've never seen before for a baseball player? We know how much they paid in the past, but as we talked about, they don't have the results to show for it. And what do we know about Shohei and what he's all about and what he wants to do as a baseball player?
Yeah, I know he really is appreciative that the Angels have given him all these opportunities. I mean, especially when he first signed. At that point, you didn't have the universal DH, so there was only a limited amount of American League clubs basically were willing to do this. Then you have to have your pitching staff bite into they're willing to pitch with a six-man rotation. And then you're thinking, I really can't give Mike Trout or Anthony Rendon or any other player a day off as a DH, because you already have the best DH in the game playing every day. So there's a commitment for the organization, but there's also, respect that Shohei has for the organization for giving him all these opportunities. So that definitely comes into play when you talk about, long-term signing and keeping him an Angel throughout his entire career. But that being said, he's said it himself, and just like Trout says, that you got to win. You got to win. And when you sign Shohei, if it's 10 years, it's, $600 million, 10 years at $500 million, or you have a shorter 5-year with crazy, average salary of about $70 million a year, whatever they come up with numbers-wise.
Mm-hmm.
Then you put in with Trout and Anthony Rendon, you have a lot of your money as far as your cap or your luxury tax level. That then how many more other players can you bring in? That's the thing you worry about as an organization. But that's why Perry Massey, the GM, has really made a conscious effort to have a ton of really good young players knocking at the door to be ready in the minor leagues. And there's some depth in there, especially on the pitching side. There's a lot of good young outfielders and a couple of good young infielders. We got one now already who was just last year was playing at Campbell University, and that's Zach Neto playing shortstop. So they have the players now to do that. But it's just hard for me to think you can allow the great all-time player like Shohei Ohtani move and go somewhere else.
Just besides Shohei, there are other guys that are going to pitch in this series. Mark, what can you tell us about? I think we know a little bit about Tyler Anderson, but Chase Silseth, we don't know much of anything about here in Baltimore, and I still don't know that we know a whole lot about Griffin Canning. Can you tell us a little bit about the guys we're going to see the next couple of nights?
Well, first with Chase Silseth, I kind of remind him every time I talk to people and they ask me the same question about him. Kind of reminds me, and you guys know him a lot out here in Baltimore, is Alek Manoah, that kind of fierce competitor. Really, he's got a really good split finger fastball. Throws, he's 94, 98 mile an hour. He's developed a cutter, which has been effective for him against left-handed batters, because left-handed batters had a lot of success against him last year. So he needed that, and also is a good slider. Very, very, very competitive guy. Really competitive guy that, there will never be an issue with a pitch timer with him. He's ready to throw a baseball like 1 second after he gets back on pitching rubber. Griffin Canning, he's been out really since 21. But he's throwing the ball well. It's I believe in when you trust, and I know my good buddy Jim Palmer says the same thing all the time. If he trusts his fastball, that down and away fastball, he's got a chance of being really good. So, and Tyler Anderson's a guy that he's not going to wow you with velocity, but he's a soft contact. His exit velocity rate is low, but if he gets the middle of the plate, that's when he runs into a little bit of a problem. But he's a magician out there on the mound as far as manipulating soft contact by hitters against him. So you won't see Reed Detmers, even though his numbers aren't great, and obviously Patrick Sandoval pitched yesterday. Those two lefties are special. So They haven't put it all together yet as their starting rotation. I thought that was going to be a major, plus side for them. But I believe the way they're going, what they did last year, that'll turn around and they'll be consistent. So, they just got to be able to find ways to go deep in the game and minimize how many extra outs you got to get out of your bullpen. All
right, we have to ask the million-dollar question. I think we're coming up on the series finale of the Goldbergs. Are we really never going to see you show up at any point on the show?
I know. I throw it out there all the time, and I go like, hey, how about a kid from Roxborough area in Philadelphia join in? And I went there with Penn Charter for 5 years. I said, help a guy out of here. I love to. I believe me, I joke around all the time. I see Ruben, Amara Jr. on there all the time, and I go, why is he on there? I mean, what's the deal with that? But it is what it is, and maybe Matt Ryan gets on there too, for all I know.
Right, who has nothing to do. Who might, I guess, maybe retired from football. It's a complicated story. It's a very complicated story where Matt Ryan announced he was going to CBS but isn't retiring, or some very weird bit.
I joked around with him already today on the social media when I saw that. Pretty funny.
Well, it's very weird, right? But, I mean, if he is retiring, a hell of a career, obviously, for Matt Ryan.
Yeah, no doubt.
Mark Gubicza, it should be an exciting 4 days in Baltimore. I'm expecting some really electric atmospheres. Obviously, the Orioles have been playing really well, and the traveling rock star show that is the Angels should be a fun week. Really appreciate it, man. Thank you so much for spending a couple of minutes with us this morning. Enjoy the stay here in Baltimore, all right?
Yeah, Glenn, this is always my favorite. I love coming to this ballpark. I'll tell you what, I can't wait. I'm so excited for the fans out here to get this team the way they're built now. They're going to be built to win for a lot of years. It's going to be great for all the fans.
It's exciting for us. We've been through a lot, as you know, in this city. You made a lot of trips here where there was no life whatsoever in Baltimore.
Exactly.
It is a really exciting time. Thanks, Mark. Really appreciate you, man.
You got it, Glenn. Have a good one.
You too. Mark Gubicza, of course, a two-time All-Star and a hell of a pitcher himself, and part of the Angels broadcast crew. It's such a weird vibe, right? Where like it's not first place versus first place. It's not, but yet it feels like on paper the most electric midweek series of the season. And once you get to September, throw everything out because if you're playing big games against the team that you're fighting with for first place in the AL East in September, that will become the biggest midweek series of the season. And yes, you would rather this happen when school's out. Like, that would be better for that to be the case. But I do still think that it's going to generate a real atmosphere this week. I mean, particularly tonight. Tonight I expect to be just electric at the ballpark on a Monday night, which we don't see a whole heck of a lot. Yeah, Matt Ryan is going to CBS, but tweeted about it and said, this is not a retirement post. Matt Ryan also went to William Penn Charter, which is the school that they feature in that show, The Goldbergs, that Mark Gubicza went to and that Ruben Amaro went to, and this is all based on a real story of a real kid named Adam Goldberg, who's the writer of The Goldbergs, and he went to this William Penn Charter school, and I have no idea what I have no idea what to make of it. Like, no clue. I guess if Matt Ryan's just saying, hey, right now I'll just be doing some work, and even if I'm playing, I can do that. Like, I can play and then also do TV because, as it says, Matt will be provide analysis for the NFL Today, that other pregame show, NFL Monday quarterback, and CBS. So, like, it's worded in a way that he's not signing up to be a color analyst for games. He's not saying, I'm going to work the Ravens-Bengals broadcast in Week 3.
He's leaving it open for the USFL.
Yeah, I don't think that's what he's looking
XFL.
for. I don't think that's the case whatsoever, but I don't know. It's weird. It's very weird. Very weird bit. All right, today's show also brought to you by the Stan the Fan Variety Hour. Tonight, Stan the Fan, Ross Grimsley, Luke Jackson will be previewing the big matchup between the Orioles and the Angels. 6 o'clock, they'll be on Facebook Live. Facebook.com/PressBoxSports in order to check it out if you miss it, because it's actually really just going to be talking about the Orioles in general. Find it tomorrow, PressBoxOnline.com/video. When we come back in, our friend Rick Dempsey is back. We're going to chat with Uncle Rick. Look forward to that. That's next. Glenn Clark Radio.
What air conditioning company can save 50% of your energy cost and qualify you for up to $7,500 in rebates? A.J. Michaels. We do more, we do it better for less. In Baltimore and Annapolis, ajmichaels.com.
The latest edition of Press Box is available now. On the cover, Luke Jackson looks at the pipeline of talent still to come for the Orioles, diving in on last year's #1 pick Jackson Holiday and other top prospects like Colton Cowser, Heston Kjerstad, Kobe Mayo, and more. Also inside, Todd Karpovich profiles Orioles pitcher Kyle Gibson, and Bo Smolka breaks down what progress would mean for the team's 2022 draft picks in their second pro season. Press Box is available for free at over 500 area locations, including 60 Royal Farm stores, and you can always find the entire edition as well as the best daily coverage of the Orioles, Ravens, and Terps at PressBoxOnline.com.
The All-America Senior Game powered by New Balance will be back at Johns Hopkins Homewood Field on July 29th. The most decorated girls and boys lacrosse players in the country have been invited to play in what is the premier lacrosse event of the year. Every college coach wants their players in this game, and if you dream of being in this game, you start by trying out for one of your regional underclass teams this summer. The best against the best. Get your tickets now at allamericalacrosse.com.
Costas Inn has been serving up delicious steamed crabs for over 50 years. Lately, the crabs you want to eat when the weather warms up have gotten harder and harder to get. So get your crab eating game plan in place. Make sure to stick this number on your fridge, 410-477-1975. Call ahead and reserve the size crabs you want. You may be able to walk in, but you may also be disappointed at the size or maybe even get shut out altogether. So call ahead, have a plan, and then arrive on your crab eating vacation. Costas also has delicious crab soup and crab cakes. The Costas Inn at 4100 North Point Boulevard. For more than 50 years, they've been satisfying crab lovers in and around Baltimore.
Make the most out of every day in your Toyota RAV4. Available in hybrid or gas-only models. A RAV4 can get you where you want to go in style. Check out buyatoyota.com for deals on new RAV4s from your local Toyota dealer today.
Check out PressBoxOnline.com every day to find daily winners and betting advice from Jeremy Conn. And if you want some advice about life decisions that you probably shouldn't make, here's Glenn Clark.
All right, back in here on at GCR. My Cedric Mullins column is up right now at PressBoxOnline.com. Encourage you to go check it out. And just sort of diving into why I feel like I have turned to the point where extension. It's time to talk with Cedric Mullins. Let's not continue to consider the possibility of trading, and he fits. I'm ready to declare that. So read about it at PressBoxOnline.com today. I saw that this man was back at the Camden Yards yesterday, and I know that he's been back in the area for a little bit, and that makes me very happy because, as you know, he's been a longtime friend of ours and one of my favorites, and I know he's one of your favorites because the reason I knew he was at the ballpark yesterday is I saw everyone sharing the pictures they took with him. I feel like half of my friends list on Facebook got a picture with 1983 World Series MVP and our buddy, the great Rick Dempsey, who's back with us now here on GCR. Rick, it's Glenn. It's always good to catch up, my friend. Thank you for taking a couple of minutes for us this morning.
Yes, it is, Glenn. Nice to talk to you, and what a special day it was at Camden Yard yesterday. On Mother's Day, I realized, but seeing all those fans there, and they were pretty excited about the ball club and how they've been playing and everything. It wasn't a good game for them yesterday, but they had a pretty good game pitched against them, and you know, that kind of thing is going to happen. They got to bear down against this Oriole team now because they're not so easy to beat anymore. They've got some great players out there. But aside of the players, the fans yesterday were so fantastic. You know, I just kind of snuck into the stadium with Steve Jeppe, and I didn't expect to be on, you know, the scoreboard and everything. But the Orioles put my picture up there, and everybody started clapping, and it was a great feeling to see that response from the fans. I've always loved them, always had a great time with them, love Baltimore and everything. And it hurts to be back in California all the time and not be able to be around the ball club. But, you know, I've loved the direction that they're going. I love Atlee Rushman and what he's given to this ball club and what the future looks like. And I know Gunnar Henderson's going to come on strong, and a lot of players are playing well and doing some things that are making a difference. that's a good thing to see finally.
Oh man, everything you just said there, we could just end right there, Rick, and I'd be good. Like that was beautiful, man. And, let me start with you, and then we're gonna work our way back to the Orioles. I know you've been spending more time. I know you connected with the Baseball Warehouse, and of course, our buddies Bordy, and of course Ryan Ripken's part of that group now. Tell me what that looks like for you, because I know Southern California is your home. But what is it going to look like for you being back? Are we going to be seeing more of you in the area now moving forward? What's that partnership like?
Well, it's a great partnership. Matt Morris has the Baseball Warehouse, and he's involved with Rick Oliver, my agent, and Rick wanted to put together a little business for us too. So we're going to have the Rick Dempsey Baseball Warehouse now to kind of complement the Matt Morris Baseball Warehouse. And it's moving in the right direction. There's so many people. I'm so surprised that a couple of the appearances I made for Matt Morris, there's been tons of people there, and even the little guys that had never saw me play still know what it was like when I was an Oriole and playing with Eddie Murray and Ken Singleton and all the great ones, Al Bunbury, they love being around those guys. So I've kind of employed them to come. Al Bunbury will be running our hitting division, and he'll be somebody that anybody can get some advice from. And Mike Bordick, who owns the record for the most airless games in a season. It's a lot of really talented ex-players that know the game of baseball and can really get these kids off in the right direction. So I'm very excited to be back where we're going to open a facility out in Columbia here. We're kind of targeting fall baseball season and get things rocking and rolling, and give me an opportunity to get back here and see all of my friends and connect again, because it's my baseball love, this area right here. I know I played for some great teams in the past, the Minnesota Twins, the New York Yankees, the Los Angeles Dodgers are incredible, but to return to Baltimore is something that's really special for me. And I enjoy seeing everybody and connecting like I did yesterday.
Well, I assure you it's special for us as well, Rick Dempsey, as I know you felt yesterday. Rick Dempsey is with us here on GCR. Rick, when you're there to feel the energy and the electricity, and of course we felt it, right, in that stretch from 12 to 2016, right? Like we had those moments where it felt like, the magic was back, obviously. How much does that mean? Like, to see where this organization has gotten to, and to have an electric atmosphere and a massive crowd for a game at the ballpark, and a real belief in this community and a relationship again between this community and this baseball team, because you've experienced the height of what that relationship can be between this city and this baseball team.
Well, most of these fans that were there yesterday probably weren't really part of the era when I became an Oriole. Not because of me, but during that time when Eddie Murray came up and Cal Ripken came up, and the things that those two guys did, Ken Singleton, who added so much to this ball club, they were able to see what real baseball was like from that era and how good the Oriole organization really was. And now we're seeing the kind of players come here now that can be the reincarnation of our great organization. And so, that's a fun thing to see, because these young fans are going to grow with this ball club and saying they're going to see how good Adley Rutschman can be and what he brings to the ball club, and how he kind of gets, that precision that you want out of a pitching staff and a catcher and an organization. And then, all of the stuff that these young players learn by watching these players and how they play together is just going to get better and better as it goes along.
You mentioned Adley Rutschman, obviously, and it's really difficult for us to define, Rick. Like, the moment he showed up, winning came with him, right? Like, it's unreal how much his presence has turned this entire team around. Can you define what it is that he brings, even if he, doesn't have a game where he's hitting home runs like he did on Saturday night or whatever it is, like what he brings that has so changed everything about this franchise?
it's the precision, the attitude, the attention to detail. It even has to get a little better, but already you see how much it's brought to this organization. The fact that, he will run out to the mound, and celebrate with the pitcher when you're coming off with a victory, the attitude of how you got to get better when you lose a ball game. And, he just never gives up. And I think that's what all the players have to rally behind him. I know other players like Rodriguez is pitching tonight, and, even within the pitching staff, you're going to have some leaderships like we had with Jim Palmer and Mike Flanagan, Scott McGregor, those kind of guys, Storm Davis, the younger guys as they came in, Dennis Martinez, they learned from those guys. And this is what they've got to do. When good things start to happen, you don't just forget about them. When the game's over, you win a ball game. You talk about it. About what was the difference in the way we played, and outfielders got to go, what was the difference when we just hit the cutoff man, what was the difference to turn in the double play? Look at this organization now. Double plays have been a thing of the past, and all of a sudden now, they're starting to come back, and now we're one of the best teams in baseball at turning double plays, and that's the pitcher's best friend. And little things like this start to compound, and then players start to say, I've got to be a little more disciplined. I've got to think about not dropping a ball. I've got to think about getting that one out when the ball club really needs it, and it permeates through the organization. And then all of a sudden we're back to where we were in the days of Hank Peters, the great general manager that we had. So, we're looking at brighter days ahead, and that's a good thing. And we'll just rebuild the fan base and move on from there. I'm looking to win a championship even this year.
Oh, boy.
With this ball club. So,
boy, that's bold.
It can get better and better, and it's possible.
As you've always said, you're a glass half full guy, and that is the thing that I appreciate the most about you, Rick Dempsey, is that you are always thinking that way.
Well, thank you. It's the way it's been ever since my first day with the Minnesota Twins. We won a couple championships there. They did, I should say, and then with the Yankees, and then with the Orioles. I skipped over Cleveland because I was only there for 1 year, but then with the Dodgers, give me a chance, we'll win a championship, and I'll catch the last pitch, and I'll give you the ball, and it happened, and that's just the way it goes.
And call the president after that. That's the important part.
There you go.
Rick, if I could, you mentioned Grayson tonight. Tonight is such a fascinating night at the ballpark, right? Like, this is one of those really special, like, if you're going to go to a game this season, you go tonight because Grayson's going up against Shohei Ohtani. You're out there in Southern California. Yeah. How do you define the absolute phenomenon that is Shohei Ohtani, and how he has taken this sport by storm over these last couple of years? And I know there are going to be thousands of folks that wouldn't be at the ballpark tonight anyway that just say, I gotta go see it. I have to see this absolute phenomenon that this man is.
Well, you play against great players like that all the time, and you play against good teams like that all the time. And there's ways to beat them. Experience will tell you exactly how to approach a game like this. Don't put him up on a pedestal. Make him make good pitches. Don't just get crazy and go up there and decide you're going to swing and all things. Think the game of baseball. How are we going to beat it? If you can't beat Shohei Ohtani off the mound, then you wait until you wear him down, and when the bullpen comes in, you beat somebody out of their bullpen. It doesn't matter how you win the ball game, but you have to think your way through it. Okay, let's make him get the pitch down. Let's do a lot of things like that. Make him turn the double play. Just be focused and don't make mistakes. Don't drop the ball, as Earl Weaver used to say. Don't drop the ball. Turn your double plays. Don't try to be fancy. Just try to do what you're capable of doing, and, it all works out when that team plays together.
There's no doubt about that. There is no question whatsoever. All right, Rick Dempsey, I know people can find out more if they go to your Twitter account, @RickDempsey24, Or if they go to the baseballwarehouse.com, those are good ways to find out more about what it is that you're going to be doing. Are you headed right back out of town now at this point, or are you sticking around for a little bit?
Well, no, I'm an empty nester now, and the wife is home by herself. I got to keep an eye on her.
I get that. I get that.
So I can't leave it too long, because you just never know. But all is well. Can't complain a bit.
Rick Dempsey, we love you. I know you feel that every time you're in town.
Thanks.
You are a beloved part of this community, and we're great whenever we get to have you back, and we look forward to seeing you back here again before too long. Thank you for hopping on with us, my friend. Always appreciate it.
Thank you very much for that. Okay, I will. See you down the road.
Rick Dempsey, the World Series MVP, and I've joked about it over the years. Even when you guys would say Rick's an apologist, he's a homer, I would say I don't care. I love Rick Dempsey, and I know that you all do too. Because again, every time he shows up at a baseball game, every single one of you goes to try to track him down and take a picture with him because he's Rick Dempsey, and we love Rick Dempsey around these parts. And I appreciate him spending time with us this morning after he was back in town this weekend. Hour number 1 of today's show, just about in the books. It was brought to you by your local Toyota dealer and buyatoyota.com. The Toyota Tacoma comes in a range of models and trim lines, so you can choose the perfect Tacoma to reflect your unique personality and driving habits. Check out buyatoyota.com for deals on new Tacomas from your local Toyota dealer today. Boy, I don't know what just happened there. Rough weekend for Maryland lacrosse. They were eliminated by Army on Saturday night. It was a thriller of a game. Great game. But they come up short. That's not that stunning. I mean, I think if you listened to Patrick Stevens last week, you knew that was a possibility. And I kept trying to tell you guys how good Army is. Army's really, really good. It was actually a hell of a weekend of really close games. But Duke was able to hold off Delaware by a goal. Delaware almost did it back-to-back years. They beat Georgetown last year and very nearly beat Duke this year. Georgetown was in a tussle. The Cornell-Michigan game was quite close. The Penn State game. There were a lot of really good games the first weekend of the tournament. I believe we might be getting a surprise visit from Jen Adams from Loyola, as the Loyola women are on to the quarterfinals. Maryland was knocked off by James Madison yesterday, but the Loyola women handled their business. It was a tough one. Stony Brook battled them back, but they are on to the quarterfinals again this year. So I think Jen Adams from Loyola might be checking in with us this morning as well. And congratulations to our friends at Harford Community College. They did indeed win the national championship, hosting for the first time and winning their first ever NJCAA national title yesterday. It was a special, special moment for them. Very happy for them. They defeated Nassau 13-9 in the national championship yesterday. So congratulations to Harford Community College. When we come back in, we're going to switch gears, talk a little Ravens. Marty Mornhinweg is going to join us, of course, former Ravens OC, get some thoughts on the offense they've built here in Baltimore, but also he was part of it the last time they went to London, and I'm trying to get to the bottom of what the hell happened. We'll ask him about that. That's on the way. It's Glenn Clark Radio. Are you a diehard O's fan looking for the perfect way to show your team spirit? Look no further than Birdland Sports. Birdland Sports is a small business run by fans for fans. They offer a wide variety of unofficial O's merchandise, from the Birds Are Coming tees to player cartoon shirts and more. And the best part? Their prices are more affordable than the big guys. So head to birdlandsports.com and grab your gear today. Show your support for the Birds with Birdland Sports.
The latest edition of Press Box is available now. On the cover, Luke Jackson looks at the pipeline of talent still to come for the Orioles, diving in on last year's #1 pick Jackson Holliday and other top prospects like Colton Cowser, Heston Kjerstad, Kobe Mayo, and more. Also inside, Todd Karpovich profiles Orioles pitcher Kyle Gibson, and Bo Smolka breaks down what progress would mean for the team's 2022 draft picks in their second pro season. Press Box is available for free at over 500 area locations, including 60 Royal Farm stores, and you can always find the entire edition as well as the best daily coverage of the Orioles, Ravens, and Terps at PressBoxOnline.com.
That first sip. That first bite. Start your day off right with a delicious breakfast at Royal Farms. Choose from a fantastic selection of fresh Royal Farms breakfast sandwiches and top it off with a rich hot cup of the freshest coffee in the world. At Royal Farms, breakfast is available day and night. It's the freshest breakfast in the world. Real fresh, real fast. Royal Farms.
What air conditioning company can save 50% of your energy cost and qualify you for up to $7,500 in rebates? A.J. Michaels. We do more, we do it better for less. In Baltimore and Annapolis, ajmichaels.com.
If you miss anything on the show, don't forget that you can watch full episodes at youtube.com/pressboxonline, and you can download podcasts on Apple, iTunes, Amazon, and Grindr. Wait, did I say Grindr? I don't think that you would find it on Grindr. Not that I know it's on Grindr or anything, I swear. On second thought, you know what? I don't care what you think. Here's Glenn.
PressBoxOnline.com/contests is the website. Go there right now, and you can sign up to win just this awesome prize that we are giving away right now. It's 4 tickets to all of the area's minor league baseball teams. 4 tickets to each of them, plus an Easy Pass Maryland on-the-go transponder preloaded with $25 and a $50 gas card from Royal Farms in order to help you get around. All of that, one prize. You must be 18 or older in order to sign up. The sweepstakes ends June 14th. Get over to PressBoxOnline.com/contests right now in order to get signed up. Your chance to win really an awesome prize, and you still have about a month, almost exactly 1 month, in order to get signed up. But don't waste time. Don't forget about it. Get signed up today. There was this weird controversy last night. There was the hockey game. It was Game 6 between the Oilers and the Knights. At the exact same time that was going on, or that we thought that was going to be going on, ESPN had their Sunday Night Baseball game scheduled. So they decided to play the hockey game at 10 o'clock after the baseball game, which was disappointing to hockey fans because it's a work night, and despite the fact the game was in Edmonton and it was an 8 o'clock start there, which is reasonable, the hockey fans on the East Coast wanted to watch that great game with one of the biggest stars in all of hockey in Connor McDavid. So it's disappointing, the game starting at 10. And then weirdly, ESPN, the baseball game runs long, and ESPN says, hey, the hockey game's going to start on ESPN2, and then it'll be back over here. And for some reason, everybody lost their minds about that, which is very odd. Very odd to me. If you've got ESPN, you probably have ESPN2. It shouldn't be hard to just click a button and say, I'll go watch the hockey game on ESPN2. It was a very weird controversy that unfolded about this. I would argue that if there was anything that was controversial, it would be, why didn't you just play the game at 8 o'clock on ESPN2? Like, I do understand the argument. Hey, you'd like more of the country to see Connor McDavid. Ended up being his final game of the season as the Oilers were eliminated. Golden Knights on to the Western Conference Finals, where they await the winner of tonight's Game 7 between Dallas and Seattle. It's weird that you wouldn't try to put that game at a better time. I don't know why everybody's all worked up. It sounded very pick-me. It was like, love my sport, love us more, pick us over that. There's a bunch of different sports going on right now. Not everybody can be on the same channel at once. So just put it on a different channel. As a sports fan, maybe you're into both baseball and hockey, and you appreciated the chance to watch both. I wanted to watch hockey last night. It's one of the very few times that I was interested in watching like a game, a playoff game. I was like, I want to take a look at this. Elimination game. Connor McDavid. Golden Knights scored 3 goals in the second period. They move on. Let's talk a little more football this morning here on GCR. Of course, our next guest, former NFL head coach, former Ravens offensive coordinator. He's been doing some stuff with the 33rd team. It's a pleasure for us to welcome back to the program Coach Marty Mornhinweg, who is with us now here on GCR. Coach, it's Glenn in Baltimore. It's great to catch up with you as always. Thank you so much for taking a couple of minutes for us.
Glenn, let's juice it up.
My God.
We've got a lot of excitement around Baltimore.
Yes, we do. It is a very exciting time around Baltimore right now, Coach. It's great to hear your voice, man. Can I start with something, because I've been trying to get to the bottom of it, and I've asked a lot of people different opinions, and nobody's given me a straight answer. The Ravens are going back to London this season. We found that out last week. They're going to go play the Titans in London. And the moment that was announced, all of Baltimore said, because as you know, it did not go well the first time the Ravens went to London. So I asked.
I know.
I was there. Yeah, I know. I ask you this question, Coach. What happened? Why? It's not just that it was a loss. It was, one of the worst performances in Ravens history. What happened and why did it go so wrong? Because not every team looks like that when they go to London and play a football game.
I will tell you, there are no excuses. There are no excuses. It was one of those weeks where there's a lot of travel. We got off the plane, got on the bus, checked into the hotel, and went right to practice, basically with little to no sleep. You tried to sleep on the airplane. I would say don't do it that way. Now, we had done all of our studies, and so that's what we came up with. We thought that was the best way. It's not. Get there early. Give the fellas 24 hours, let's say, to sort of recoup their senses, right? All right, that was the first thing. The second thing was that, unbeknownst to me, I was buried trying to score some points, right? Which we didn't.
Right.
We had trouble. But the fellas were getting pulled. And I didn't even realize it. I'm not sure many people did, because if you remember, that was the first week of the kneeling thing.
Right after the president.
I didn't even know that some of our fellows did it until the plane ride back. And so, and so I think our focus and concentration may have been just a little bit elsewhere.
Okay. All right. So what you're saying is hopefully these things won't be a problem as the Ravens go back to London. Like that they'll be a little bit more prepared and a little bit more focused this time as they head back to London this season.
Well, the fellows that are making the decisions, right? John Harbaugh. So he's got experience doing this. He tried it one way that apparently worked. It didn't for us. So I'm sure he's going to do it differently with scheduling and reiterating the focus that is needed to win any NFL game, let alone traveling halfway across the world in an unfamiliar place, unfamiliar field, all of those things. Everything matters. So I'm sure there'll be a little bit different focus, Glenn.
All right. And I know that sometimes that even happens when you don't go to London. I know there are sometimes just games where for whatever reason it was not your week. Those things happen in football. That is a part of the game. Marty Mornhinweg is with us here on GCR. Coach, I wonder, it's been since the last time you and I talked. The Ravens have Lamar Jackson back. Now they've added in Odell Beckham to the fold, and Todd Monken's got all these toys to play with because they drafted another receiver for him in the first round in Zay Flowers out of Boston College. How excited are you about what it is that the Ravens could present offensively? As you know, wide receiver has not always been a priority for the Baltimore Ravens over the years. This is shaping up to be, if Rashad Bateman comes back healthy and Zay Flowers is the guy that a lot of people think he is, this is about as strong of an investment as the Ravens have made at the position almost in their history as a franchise.
That's right. That's right. I will say that in the past they have tried. They've tried hard.
Right.
They hit on Steve Smith, the great Steve Smith, with three. But then everything that they've done up to now sort of hasn't worked quite as well, right, as other teams. So they just elevated themselves. I mean, they elevated themselves from a really good football team to a possibility of making a deep run, and I'm talking Super Bowl type of run. Now that I'm saying that without the thought of some sort of catastrophe, massive injury type of year, right? They are built to go all the way. They've got a fine defense. They've got excellent special teams. And now they just gave Lamar Jackson some weapons. And now I will say, Glenn, they need to turn Lamar loose in the passing game just a little bit more, just a little bit of adjustment. And it looks like that they've done that with the hiring of Monken.
Tell me about what you expect from him, Coach. What is it that you obviously being around this game as long as you have, the sense that I've gotten is that, I think we always thought of you in the West Coast offense, right? Like we always thought. I have not been able to get anyone who said, hey, this is exactly what he's going to do. He typically tends to bend his offense towards the talent that he has on the field. So what would your expectations be for a Todd Monken, given what it is the Ravens are presenting now talent-wise?
Well, you said it exactly right. Your system has to be big enough, wide enough, tall enough to attack your opponent with your personnel, because your personnel changes from year to year. So you play to your players' strengths, and that's what Todd is going to try to do with Lamar Jackson. And look, you know me, I've said this a couple of times, right? Is that going all the way back, Lamar needed to be trained in the pocket, because at year 3, 4, 5, right, everything's going to pull at him. He's going to get a nick here. He's going to get a nick there. And you want to run him. Utilize Lamar Jackson in the run game just enough to where it's always a threat every play, because that pulls the defense apart. So I suspect that instead of running Lamar, they're going to do a few more quick screens. They're going to do some quick game, 3-step game. They're going to do more RPOs, whether he gives it or passes the football, rather than the triple option type of situation where Lamar could give it, he could run it, or he could throw it. There will still be a little bit of that. I suspect that there will be parts of the running game in the past that Monken keeps and filters into his offense.
I wonder, you brought up Steve Smith Sr. A minute ago. Of course, we remember the impact he had when he arrived in 2016. It was unbelievable. Odell Beckham's been through a lot in the recent years. He's been through injuries. He had a little bit of a downturn in Cleveland. But the last time we saw him on the field with the Rams a couple seasons ago, he was a massive difference maker in that postseason and a huge part of the reason why they made a run to winning a Super Bowl. Maybe not statistically, right, because I don't know that you're going to expect as many balls thrown that way, but do you believe there's a chance that Odell Beckham could have that same type of impact on a team the way that Steve Smith Sr. had that impact on the 2016 Ravens?
Yes, I do, as long as Odell Beckham comes in healthy and stays healthy. Now, those are two different types of players.
Sure.
Steve Smith, great leader, tough, physical, consistent. I mean, this guy, I loved being able to coach Steve Smith, and I've coached some of the greatest ever to play.
Sure.
With T.O. and Jerry Wright. Steve Smith is right up there with him. Odell Beckham, I remember him coming out. I gave him a really, really high grade. This man is ultra talented. But my question with him was, is this man a track guy playing football, or is this guy a football player? So two different types of guys. Ultra talented. There's no question that he will make a really positive impact as long as Odell Beckham stays healthy.
I'm really excited about it, Coach. Like I keep coming away. It's crazy because just a couple months ago, everybody in Baltimore was nervous and apprehensive about the future of this team, and all of a sudden, within the span of weeks, and I know you did your video talking about Lamar going to win a Super Bowl. Like this is sort of the way it feels like. It's crazy how we've gone from panic to no, legitimately, it's not going to be easy. The AFC is nuts. I mean, like, it's insane what you got to go up against in the AFC right now. But I think there's every reason for folks in Baltimore to believe that this group is capable of competing with those top teams in the AFC to go to try win a Super Bowl this season.
Well, there's no question that they're capable. Now, Lamar needs to get in and start learning. In a normal year, no problem. But Lamar needs to, because there's going to be different terminology. The new coordinator will look at a specific play a little bit differently than Lamar's used to. He's got to spend some time, quality time, with that coordinator. So that's the one big aspect that has bothered me up until now. So, and then the second one is Lamar's challenge right now. Go win a Super Bowl. I believe Lamar's got one win in the playoffs. This man is one of the dynamic, electrifying, exciting players that plays quarterback for the Baltimore Ravens, and they have one playoff win. We have to get over the hump there, and then we've got experience, right? So, and Lamar Jackson's got experience. Other players on the team have playoff experience. Now we need to get over the hump and start stacking wins, playoff wins I'm talking about, and go win a Super Bowl. That is Lamar Jackson's challenge right now.
There's no doubt, Coach, and I think it's something that he's got to raise his level when he gets to the postseason. Got to get there first, obviously, but then even raise his level when he gets to that point. I think that is very fair. Coach Marty Mornhinweg, always great to catch up with you, my friend. Would love to do this again as we get a little bit closer to the start of the season. Have yourself a great summer, sir.
Hit me anytime.
Always appreciate you. Marty Mornhinweg with us here on GCR. It's interesting he points out, everybody brings up the kneeling thing. And I get it. I understand. And the Ravens were in an impossible situation, right, as they were the first team to play after the comments that then President Trump had made. But I don't think that's it. There are other teams that had players that kneeled that day, and they won their football games. That wasn't the case. It's interesting that he brings up the travel aspect of it, because it has kind of been accepted, like the thing that you're supposed to do is not try to get adjusted. Like, you're just supposed to show up and get right to it and almost like stay on your own body clock until you leave. And it's interesting that Marty Mornhinweg brings up that might have been an issue for the Ravens as they made that first trip to London a couple years ago. All right, Jen Adams from Loyola is going to join us here in just 1 second as they got a big win yesterday over Stony Brook to get back to the NCAA quarterfinals. Jeremy Conn will return to the program in a little bit, so still a lot to do on a Monday edition of GCR. I want to talk to Jeremy about the conference finals now being set in the NBA. As Mark Gubicza brought up, the Sixers lose to the Celtics, get shellacked by the Celtics in Game 7 yesterday. And so we now know it'll be Miami and Boston in the East, and, of course, L.A. and Denver in the West in the NBA's conference finals. We will get to that with Jeremy here in a bit. But as I mentioned, a really great day at Ridley Athletic Complex yesterday. It got a little hairy at the end, but Loyola able to hang on for a big 9-8 victory over Stony Brook, and the Greyhounds are back in the NCAA Women's Quarterfinals. Joining us now, she is their head coach. She's Coach Jen Adams, and she's with us on GCR. Coach, it's Glenn. It's always great to catch up. Congratulations on being back in the NCAA quarterfinals.
Thanks so much, Glenn. Yeah, we appreciate it. Excited to be back there.
I imagine those were nervous moments there at the end of the game yesterday. What was the difference for your team and being able to hold on and grind that thing out against a really good Stony Brook team?
Yeah, absolutely. A very, very tough Stony Brook team, a very high-powered set of players. So I'm really proud of our girls for playing out the full 60 minutes, and it really did come down to the wire. I think the last draw was absolutely pivotal, and Jillian Wilson came up big with a possession. But, it was just staying in the moment. We had a really big third quarter, which propelled us forward 4 goals, and that ended up being just the difference maker in the game.
Coach, I feel like a couple years ago, this group of talented players that you had put together, like even back to the pandemic year that unfortunately had to be canceled, it was like there was an opportunity for you guys to catch teams by storm a little bit. And I don't know that everybody realized how good you were just yet. By this point, what you have built and the consistency of it, how has things changed? And have you felt more and more like, hey, we don't get to be the hunters anymore. We've kind of had to be the hunted the last couple of years because everybody knows what a program has been built here at Loyola.
Yeah, I think the really neat part is as a coach, we came in here and I was fortunate enough to inherit a program that just has such a rich tradition and legacy, incredible players, and we've been able to build on that culture. It's a really family set atmosphere, and players that come and choose to come to Loyola want to be competitive, and they put in the work, and they've just got incredible work ethic. So for us, to be able to continue to build on that, and I think that has been the true secret to the success over the last couple of years, has been just the willingness of these players. They love being together. They love playing together. They love playing the game of lacrosse, and they love having a stick in their hands, and they put in a lot of work into that. So for us as coaches, it makes our job very, very easy.
Coach, you mentioned Jillian Wilson, of course, and Katie Detweiler jumps out to me as well. players that we know are coming up at the end, and this is maybe the next thing. The one thing that still can be accomplished is a trip to championship weekend, right, and making it to the Final Four. How much would it mean to you for those players to get the taste of that and to have that experience of playing? I know you want to win a national championship. Like, I understand that the big goal is even bigger than that. But just as being that sort of next step for this program to take, what would that mean?
Yeah, absolutely. You know, for players like Jillian and Det, but really for everyone and for this program in general, that's the thing that's eluded us since I've been a coach here is making that jump over the hurdle and getting us to a Final Four. And I would love nothing more than to be able to take our nation to the Final Four down in North Carolina this year.
Obviously, it's not easy, right? What stands in front is a really, really good Northwestern team. I know you're going to go play a game, and it's funny because in the last couple of years you've been playing these types of teams so regularly. Can you take me through how important it's been for you to schedule non-conference, some of the best teams in the country, in order to make sure your team is prepared for these moments and playing teams like Northwestern with so much at stake?
Yeah, I think that's what an out-of-conference schedule is designed for, is to allow you the freedom a little bit to put your team in situations where you're playing teams out of your typical conference. You're getting a lot of different scout looks, chances for us to play teams in the ACC and the Big Ten, and lots of different programs and different styles of lacrosse. So we certainly try to set our players in our program up for seeing a lot of those different styles and being as prepared as possible, so that come postseason, we've been in those shoes and it's nothing new. And again, I think the bigger thing is really creating that sense of consistency throughout the season, that you show up and every game has that kind of weight and importance on it. So that has been a heavy focus for us this season. I
mentioned Northwestern, right? Like they were in a battle. They were in a tussle yesterday, right? They were right on the ropes.
Right.
Is there a way? I know you don't want to give anyway like a bulletin board material or something like that, Coach. But is there a way that you see that even a team that's riding an 18-game win streak could be vulnerable, and you guys feel like you genuinely have a shot as you make that trip out there this week?
Yeah, Glenn, look, I think obviously I have so much respect for Northwestern and Kelly Amonte and what she's done with that program out there. But at the same token, sports are a 60-minute game. A whistle's going to blow, and we're going to have an opportunity to compete. And I certainly know we'll be ready. Our players, they step foot onto the field, and their whole intention is to just give it their all, and that's what we plan to do on Thursday night.
What is it that what impresses you most about them this season, and what will it take for you guys to be able to go on the road and pull off this win?
Most impressive to me is, we lost. We were laden with talent last year, and a lot of people were talking about what we lost. And what's impressed me is how they have focused on what we have and what we brought back.
Okay.
And building the identity for themselves as a team and a unit this year, not trying to rest on the laurels of last year. So that's been the most impressive thing. What is it going to take to beat Northwestern? Pretty simply is to be one goal up on the scoreboard at the end of that game. And I think that's going to take tough defense, keeping their powerful offensive unit to limited goals. And it's going to put us putting the ball in the back of the net. They're both things we've done all season. So we're confident in going in, playing Loyola lacrosse and throwing it up in the air and hoping it sticks.
I have had the fortune of doing a few of your guys' games these last couple seasons, and these players that were like watching Sydney Black is such a joy. I just wonder, as a coach, how much fun has this been for you to be around these group of young women that are so talented, that are so competitive? I know you want to win championships, and I know that like a national championship is a huge goal. But can you describe, because it's so much fun to watch your team play, how much fun it is to coach this group that you've had over these last few years?
Yeah, you really nailed it. They are just so much fun. They're so much fun to be around as people, which obviously makes, coaching an exciting thing. You go out every day and they put a smile on our face out there as coaches. But to be pushed as a coach in the way that they're so competitive and they're so skilled and talented, and for us to continue to make practices fun for them and competitive for them. So in that way, I love that they stretch and challenge us as coaches every day, and again, just make coaching it has the ability to be very stressful, but they keep it fun, they keep it light. They love what they do, and they make us love what we do, and I think that's a pretty powerful combination. There's a lot of trust and respect amongst our coaching staff and players, and we want to take this thing all the way, but that's a very small, sports are about winning and losing on the field, but in the grand scheme of it, it's a very, very small piece of the pie, Glenn, in terms of what we are doing here at Loyola with these players.
I understand. It's a fine line, right? It's funny. I know Giannis said it a couple weeks ago, right? Like only one team gets to win a championship, and not everybody else was a failure, right? In the process,
right?
Like there's a lot of
100%.
other things that you can do in there, and it's funny because it would be so cool, and as someone who's so involved with Loyola, it would just be unbelievable to see you guys make that run. But I do think it's important to recognize that, like, what you've been doing is amazing. And I know it's a fine line, and I don't know how you walk it as a coach, because you want to celebrate those things and do all those things, and yet you don't want to rest on it and don't want to say it's just enough because you want to keep that drive up. I know politically it almost feels like it's a difficult way to go about having conversations, Coach.
Right. Yeah, no, you nailed it. I think that's it. It is a fine line to walk as a coach, and I think the more balance you can find in that, and we constantly are stepping back and saying, we're not just going to define ourselves by our winning and losing. And I'm proud of this team. They have done so much community service work and so many awareness games, and they're involved so much in the community. They're crushing it in the classroom academically. They're just good people, and they're incredible role models for the next generation of lacrosse players. And if nothing else, I am very proud of that. And they're 100% winners and champions in my book, regardless of what we do. Now, that being said,
right,
we're very competitive, and we want to go all the way and win it. That's just that kind of cherry on the top, and that's what we're shooting for, obviously.
Boy, I understand everything you're saying. All that is true, and yet, boy, it would be a lot of fun to be in North Carolina for Memorial Day weekend. That would be an awful lot of fun. Thursday night, 7:30, and the game is on ESPNU, so a great opportunity for you guys to represent on a national stage on Thursday night as you guys take on Northwestern. Coach, it's honestly, it's awesome watching your team play. It's incredible what it is that you all have built at Loyola. Looking forward to seeing Thursday night. Rooting like hell for you. Whatever happens, we're very proud of this program, but boy, am I hoping that it is the way that we want it to go. Thank you for taking the time for us. Congratulations on everything, Coach.
Thanks so much, Glenn. I appreciate it. I appreciate your kind words. Thank you.
It's Coach Jen Adams from Loyola with us here this morning on GCR as they get ready again for what will be, a very difficult test. No way around it. That is not going to be easy for them to go up and take down a Northwestern team that has not lost since the first game of the season. Number one team in the country on the road on Thursday night. But, crazier things have happened. Crazier things have occurred, and a great chance for them to go try to pull that off on Thursday night and advance to the Final Four. We're going to advance to talking to Jeremy Conn. We're going to do that when we come right back in. Does that sound all right?
It's good. Good transition.
I feel like a broadcast professional over here. Broadcast professional. Don't forget, this print issue of Press Box is available for free at your neighborhood Royal Farms, any of the hundreds of locations around town where you find Press Box. Read it all at PressBoxOnline.com. That image of Jackson Holiday on the cover as we take a look at the pipeline that is still in place for the Baltimore Orioles. Despite the fact that Gunnar and Adley and Grayson all got here, there's still a lot more to come. Read about it right now in this new print issue of Press Box. It's Glenn Clark Radio.
The All-America Senior Game powered by New Balance will be back at Johns Hopkins Homewood Field on July 29th. The most decorated girls and boys lacrosse players in the country have been invited to play in what is the premier lacrosse event of the year. Every college coach wants their players in this game, and if you dream of being in this game, you start by trying out for one of your regional underclass teams this summer. The best against the best. Get your tickets now at allamericalacrosse.com.
The Orioles are off and running, out to prove that last season wasn't a fluke, and they are one of the best teams in baseball. Hi, I'm Paul Valley, host of the Bat Around for PressBox. Tune in every Saturday from 10 a.m. to noon as Zach Goodman and I break down every Adley bomb, every Tony Tater, and every save from the mountain. Like a warm hug from Rutschman, the Bat Around has you covered with all things Orioles as we embark on what's sure to be a magical summer in Birdland. So tune in every Saturday for the best in Orioles coverage right here on the Bat Around.
Whether your focus is luxury and comfort, convenience and technologically advanced connectivity, or sporty performance and aggressive styling, we've got the perfect Highlander for you. Check out buyatoyota.com for deals on new Highlanders from your local Toyota dealer today.
Costas Inn has been serving up delicious steamed crabs for over 50 years. Lately, the crabs you want to eat when the weather warms up have gotten harder and harder to get. So get your crab eating game plan in place. Make sure to stick this number on your fridge, 410-477-1975. Call ahead and reserve the size crabs you want. You may be able to walk in, but you may also be disappointed at the size or maybe even get shut out altogether. So call ahead, have a plan, and then arrive on your crab eating vacation. Costas also has delicious crab soup and crab cakes. The Costas Inn at 4100 North Point Boulevard. For more than 50 years, they've been satisfying crab lovers in and around Baltimore.
That first sip. That first bite. Start your day off right with a delicious breakfast at Royal Farms. Choose from a fantastic selection of fresh Royal Farms breakfast sandwiches and top it off with a rich hot cup of the freshest coffee in the world. At Royal Farms, breakfast is available day and night. It's the freshest breakfast in the world. Real fresh, real fast. Royal Farms.
If you need more of Glenn, you can also hear him every Sunday with Rita on 105.7 The Fan. But also, if you need more of Glenn, what's wrong with you?
Should have mentioned as we were talking about this print issue of PressBox, I did see that MLB Pipeline put out a new Top 100 Prospects list, and Jackson Holliday is number 3 on that list. So that's a pretty quick rise. Number 3 prospect in all of baseball, Jackson Holliday. In the new MLB Pipeline list. Also, some Orioles news this morning. They have made a roster move. Kyle Stowers, who has just been, obviously, it's been a miserable stretch for him of late. There's no way around it. Just brutal. Had the golden sombrero yesterday. Just not been enjoyable for Kyle Stowers. He was 2 for 30 this season with 12 strikeouts. He has been optioned, and they're going back to 13 pitchers. Logan Gillespie was called back up. So nothing exciting. If you're thinking maybe this might be the moment for a Colton Cowser or a Jordan Westberg, that's not the case. Nothing sexy there. Logan Gillespie comes back up to take Kyle Stowers' spot on the roster. But if that disappoints you because it's not sexy enough, I've got good news for you. It's about to get really sexy. As joining us fresh off his trip to Jamaica that we legitimately forgot about last week and thought we were calling him to be on the show. He is our friend Jeremy Conn, Big Bad Morning Show, 105.7 The Fan, ConcreteLocks.com. He's back with us on GCR. What's going on, brother? How are you?
I think I'm good. I think I still would have joined you guys had we not been in the water, I think, when you were calling, and then I saw Griffin his text.
I swear to God. We're coming back from break, and Griffin's like, Jeremy's not answering. And I was like, yeah, that's weird. And then all of a sudden, those scenes from a movie where a light bulb goes off, right? Or like you realize what's happening in that. In Home Alone, where it strikes them that Kevin really is at the house by himself, and all of a sudden you see Marv's golden tooth shining with that big old smile. That was the moment for me where I was like, oh, my God, he's in Jamaica. What are we doing?
Yeah, man.
So
I was on island time, I guess.
Yeah. How was it?
As they say, anytime they're late. It was amazing. It's one of the, my favorite vacation I went on was still Oktoberfest just because of, I don't know, it was just right up my alley. But, the resort we went to, couples swept away, was phenomenal. The food was great. The people were great. I loved everything about it. And I'm not a beach guy per se. My wife is, so I'm more of the pool guy. I got in the pool our last day there, and other than that, outside of maybe going to get a drink to walk to a pool bar, I was in the water. I was in the ocean most, so it was beautiful.
Would you give me something you ate? Give me the one thing that you would say that's the best thing that you had the entire time you were in Jamaica.
the best thing I had.
Yeah.
I mean, they had so many different desserts that were just incredible, but like you can't go wrong with the jerk chicken there. But every meal we went to, like we were trying all different types of stuff. I'll say this, I'm not a fish person, and I tried snapper for the first time, and I thought it was pretty good.
All right. I've had some snapper.
Just trying some new things.
Look at you.
The worst thing I got is when someone forgot to put pineapple juice in my pina colada, and it ended up just being like milk and ice and vodka or whatever the hell it was.
That sounds really bad. Was this an all-inclusive joint that you were at, or was this, okay? All right, that's
it's some of the best food I've had at an all-inclusive too.
Okay,
so I thought it was really well done.
But how do you? Then we got to talk about that because it's actually going to combine with the conversation I feel about Mother's Day brunch. When you do something like that, do you find yourself like doing the math in your head of whether or not it's worth it? Like, are you the type of person? I can't help myself. Like, I took the family out to Mother's Day brunch yesterday, and I'm thinking about how much money I spent on the brunch and what we've actually consumed, and I'm like, I don't want more food, but I feel like I have to go get more food because I am that type of person. When you're at the all-inclusive, are you thinking along those lines at all?
I'm the exact opposite, ironically. The reason why my wife takes care of all of our money and everything adult is because I'm a child. But there's another part of it where I just, I know this sounds stupid and it's something I shouldn't say. I don't care about money. Like, I know that doesn't make sense to people. If I see something and I want it and I have money, I'm going to get it.
I get it.
If I don't, then I won't get it. So
I get it.
I'm just living in the moment. I mean, I'm really here until someone tells me it's time to go.
I'm weird. I'm not obsessed with it. It's more like a value thing for me. Like, I know that's dumb, but, like, I can't justify. I could really want to go to a concert, and I can look up. I tell you what, when Blink-182 announced this tour, I was like, man, I love Blink-182. I've always loved Blink-182. They've been a big part of my life. It's great that they're back together. They're playing in Baltimore, and, like, it used to be that nobody ever played in Baltimore, right? Like, this is – I gotta go. And then I saw that they were charging $150 just to get in, an absurd amount of money for real tickets. And I said, I love Blink-182, but I just can't justify. I'm a value I hate that I'm like that, but it's a value thing for me. Like, I can't justify this. I don't care how much I like it. I'm out. I'm not going to do it. And I don't know if that's a sickness. I don't know if I should just be able to say, like, no, you're going to have fun. You're going to have a wonderful night. Who gives a rat's ass that it costs you a bunch of money? Go do something you're going to enjoy, but I can't help myself in that situation.
Yeah, and it's funny, like, if people looked at my relationship with my wife, who is very type A, like, I'm the type of person that, let's say there's a movie out, and I want to watch it tonight,
right?
And then it's going to be free tomorrow, but it costs, whatever, $6, $5 to rent it tonight. I will still rent it tonight instead of waiting tomorrow if I want to see it today. Yeah,
really.
I'm that guy. And my wife is the type of person that'll go, I'll say, hey, you want to rent a movie? She's like, why? There's a ton of free movies. Yeah, but I want to watch this one.
Right.
And it's going to cost $5. Well, we don't have $5.
Yeah.
Of course we have $5.
Yeah.
So,
yeah. This is you and my wife would get along. I can't do this. Like, I am literally doing the math on all of this stuff, and it makes it impossible for me to enjoy anything anymore. I don't know if it's an old guy thing. I don't feel like my father was this way. I don't know where this came from, but I am constantly thinking the value of the event, is it worth it? The value of this meal, the value of there are places where I'm willing to pay good money for a meal. Like, I talk about the Indian place up by me, Pierce's. They don't pay us pay a penny to advertise. I don't care. They're that good, and it's an extraordinary amount of money I'm going to pay every time I have a meal there. But I'm getting that good of a meal, so I don't care. I'll pay that because I know it's worth it to me. But it's got to be.
That's how I thought about Ravage Deli in Perry Hall. Which
that place was really good, man. That place. Oh God, you're not wrong about that. Every time they would post something on Facebook, I would be like, I need to go try that immediately. Like, God, that is amazing.
Yeah, they had some sort of banh mi. I think it was a pork banh mi dish there that I still can't get out of my mind. And I asked them to rename it after me. I said, if you put that thing on the menu, I'll order it every time I come in.
You wanted it to be a pork con mi. And
yeah.
And did they go for it?
No.
Oh.
I mean, they may have had I pushed, but they're really good people.
I'm very sad.
And the food there, like everything on the menu is just amazing.
A friend, Simon Habdamariam, has a little pizza pop up, and he named a pizza after me once. And I swear to God, it was like the happiest I've ever been in my entire life. I've never needed anything else.
Isn't that the pinnacle to have, like, just something important, something that you enjoy named after you? Like, some people talk about parks. like a sandwich, a drink, or something like.
I don't remember what it was. When the radio station used to be in Towson, before it moved to where it is now, there was a deli in Towson that would name all of their sandwiches after hosts on one of it was CBS then, now Odyssey stations. So there was a Maria Dennis. There was a JoJo Gerard.
I remember this place. There was an Anita Marks one at the very end.
100%. So they pitched that when I was on with Ed. They had an Ed sandwich, they had a Maynard, and they were about to make it, and because when it was my stupid radio name was Coach G. Ugh, I still get the douche chills when I hear that. They were ready to put a sandwich on there, and I was 23, and I was losing it. I mean, Jeremy, losing it. Like, this was all I ever needed in life. And, like, the week before they were going to put – I don't even remember what was going to be on the sandwich. The week before they were going to put it on is when I got the boot. And I was like –
oh, really? That
dude,
sucks.
I was so beside myself. Like, I didn't really – the
slightly
job,
worse
whatever.
than buying a player's jersey that gets traded.
Oh, it's so much worse. Dude, it's so much worse. I was legitimately – the girl that I was dating at the time was like – and by the way, they didn't even fire me. They just took me off of Ed's show and cast me to the AM station, which, as you know at the time, like, it just wasn't – like, it wasn't the same. Yeah. And that the me having the sandwich was me part of being on Ed's show. And so it just wasn't going to work anymore. And like I remember my girlfriend at the time being like, well, you didn't get fired. You just got moved to a different radio station. And I just remember like almost blubbering, but the sandwich.
Well, at that place, did you ever try the Barry Wood sandwich? There's so much meat on it, you can't fit it in your mouth.
I don't think I ever tried that. No.
Okay.
I couldn't.
You guys feel free to look that one.
I thought I was trying to figure out if that was shtick or not. I couldn't actually.
That was shtick.
I thought that
Barry
was
Wood's
the case.
the naked dude that sits on the end of his bed that everyone now knows.
Thank you. That's the guy. I couldn't thank you. My fault. My fault. Well done. Well done. Well done, pal. Hey, I wanted to talk NBA playoffs with you because we're down to the conference finals, and I'm in a really strange place where like I don't have a feel. Like I think Denver is the team to beat, but I don't know that, and part of it is conflicted by the fact that Denver always ends up disappointing and letting you down. But as open as it was to start the playoffs, I don't feel like here's what I feel like we've learned. All of these teams can be really good in certain situations. The Lakers can be really good as long as Anthony Davis is playing really well. If he's not, they can't almost. The Nuggets could win the NBA title if they just get enough from Jamal Murray. And sometimes they do. And if they don't, then I think they're in trouble. Like it's all qualified. The Celtics, I think, are the deepest team and the best overall team. But Jesus Christ, they just tried to lose to the hapless 76ers, and they were a couple of minutes away from being eliminated 2 games ago. I don't – then the Heat are one guy, but that one guy has been the best guy in the entirety of the playoffs. I don't know what to make of this.
Here's what I think is going to happen. I think the Lakers win in 6, and I think we get a gentleman's sweep with Miami and Boston. I just think Boston is a terrible matchup for Miami, and they handle them. And I was saying this to someone else. Nobody ever wants to talk about it. Nobody wants to listen to this. But Anthony Davis is the best player in the league when he's healthy.
Right.
And things that, like, he's an impossible matchup. He always grades out in the top 5 in defensive efficiency, and he's always up there in offensive efficiency as well. And you're talking about a guy that could easily win MVP after MVP if he could just stay out of the locker room during the game, you know? And I think for whatever reason, I think he's just going to cause so many problems for Jokic. We'll just have to see how much they put on. Like, the others really have to step up for Denver in this series. And I think the Lakers are a lot better than we gave them credit for. The moves they made, look, beat them up for the past couple of years, but the moves they made in the front office have really bettered this team. I think that they move on. I think they knock off the Nuggets personally, and that the NBA gets exactly what they want, Lakers Celtics. Because they do not want Denver or Miami in the finals.
I understand. It does nothing for me, man. I am. Yeah. It's the eye roll NBA finals where I'm just like, hey, cool. God bless you. One of you is gonna win, but none of it interests me in any way. I get it. And you're certainly right. Like the guy that I just watched Jokic for 6 games. The Suns are an embarrassment though. So like there's no comparison to Jokic going up against DeAndre Ayton and Jock Lansdale to what he'd be going up against Anthony Davis, particularly Jokic, the defender, against Anthony Davis, the offensive force. But, dude, there's something about watching so much of Nikola Jokic over the course of the last couple of weeks that, like, I I've kind of been the guy that I rolled at the fact that he was a 2-time MVP and could have been a 3-time MVP this season. But Jesus, when you watch him, I don't even know how to describe what it is that I'm watching. It makes no sense.
He and Luke are the perfect examples of when you watch somebody and you're like, they're not fast. They're not, like, their movements can be awkward. They're so good at finishing around the hoop with either hand. Both of them can shoot from the outside, albeit one's a guard, one's a center. They both pass extremely well. Like, I love it. Every time somebody's playing against Jokic, they're always like, yeah, I don't get it either, man, but he's unbelievably good. It's almost like they're trying to make an excuse for him. Like, we didn't see it either. Okay, he was a chubby kid. His movements aren't like everybody else's movements, but he still gets it done. And that's one of the reasons why he said he doesn't like the All-Star game, because Jimmy Butler doesn't like the All-Star game. That's not my type of game. Like, I don't want to play in a running up and down and nobody do anything and just dunk, dunk, dunk. You know, they're more finesse.
I don't know, man. It's been fun watching Jimmy Butler play. Like, it's been a lot of fun, man. There's some part of me.
I love it.
There's some part of me that wants to see him do this. Like, wants to see him single-handedly carry a team to a title, because I've just been so wildly entertained by the guy that I don't want less Jimmy Butler in my life at this point. And part of it is I hate Boston too.
Isn't he everything you would like to be as an athlete?
Right.
Nobody expected it. If you look at, he was not a top recruit coming out of high school. He was homeless for a while, basically adopted by another family, was an afterthought at Marquette, was an afterthought in the NBA draft. Had bounced around a little bit. When you think about, who was it? It was he and Jay Crowder was at Marquette too, if I'm not mistaken.
Yeah.
Yeah, and they both kind of like, he's almost been he's kind of a star, but he's not the guy we want to build around. And even he said, you guys moved me and you're keeping Tobias Harris?
Right.
Really? That's what you wanted to do? He's everything that you would want out of a player, and he's not. He even admits, he's like, look, I'm not a great 3-point shooter. That's why I don't take a ton of them. Who does that? Who is that type of guy that's going to do every little thing that you want him to? And, oh, by the way, hey, we need you to score 25 a game. I can do that, too, if you need that. So I love the guy. He's one of my favorite players in the league.
It's so much fun to watch him play. It is insane to watch that dude play. Jeremy Conn is with us here on GCR, Big Bad Morning Show 105.7 The Fan. I know you guys were talking about the Ja Morant thing this morning. Rita and I didn't talk about it a ton because we did a special Mother's Day show yesterday. I'm in a weird place with this where I know it's bad. I know you don't want players holding guns. I think the part to me is like I'm more perplexed by the stupidity of it than I am the actual thing, right? Like I know it's going to sound odd, but there is a Second Amendment in this country, and you do have the right to own a gun, and like it's a weird sort of vibe that I have about this. Whatever I don't know that I'm that mad about Ja Morant, holding a gun, but I do get why it's such. Man, I'm talking myself in circles right now trying to say this because I think that.
I mean, I get what you're saying, though.
Yeah, go ahead. You try.
So the point with this is there's a couple different things here that, he had the first incident where he was basically penalized because he was on Instagram Live on a video while they were on a team plane. So that's why you get in trouble for that first, right? Brandishing a gun on Instagram Live, or at least they knew that he had taken it on a team plane because they were in another city. This is just, to me, it's just sheer stupidity. And the only reason I want to see him get suspended, I don't want to see the season long or anything. He needs to get it figured out, man, because I don't know where he's going that he needs to worry about taking a gun with him. But again, that's not my fight. The argument would be how much of the Memphis Grizzlies and the NBA worried about his actions, especially after just apologizing for doing it. So did he do anything wrong? No, not in the grand scheme of things. But after you've gotten busted and got in trouble for it, and the NBA can do the whole NFL thing, this is the brand, this is the logo, and you're doing this or that. But I think they need to protect himself from himself because let's be honest, he's not that guy. Like, he's not out there doing all this stuff. I even saw some people talking about the gang signs that were being thrown up. So I don't know, man. It's just not a good look. And I think somebody needs to save himself from himself, if you will.
I agree with that. And it's the just sheer stupidity. Like, dude, what? Do you want to be a successful athlete? Like, do you want to be someone? And look, I get some people don't. I've talked about this a little bit with Gervonta, Jeremy, where like I fear that he needs the chaos. Like, I think we all know people like this that just they can't operate without chaos. They're not capable of it. They can't. It was Ricky Bobby's dad, right? Like that was sort of the bit about. And I'm not trying to, because these are far more serious things than talking about Ricky Bobby's dad. But the concept is similar. Like I can't just go sit down and have a meal with my family. Like I can't be that person. And I worry about that with some people. To your point, it doesn't make sense with John Morant. It's what everybody keeps pointing out. Like this isn't your background. This isn't the way, like, you don't know this intrinsically in your blood the way that someone might say Gervonta does. But I still worry that there are just people that are not capable of operating without chaos being a part of their life.
Yeah, maybe we do need Ricky Bobby's dad to put, some Colombian Bam Bam underneath his friend's car, so maybe Ja won't get in that car.
Right. Tiger in the passenger seat.
Somebody needs to sit him down and talk to him about who he's hanging out with, what he's doing. Once you get to a certain point of your life, and I hate the idea that, people feel like they have to leave people behind, but we've all done it. We've all cut friends out of our life because they weren't good for us, or you don't see eye to eye with them anymore, or whatever. I mean, there's all types of reasons for it. This guy, he's on a gravy train with biscuit wheels, and he's blowing it, man. He's blowing it big time.
It's crazy, man. It really is. It's absolutely nuts. All right, where are you with I brought this up with Rita yesterday. I've let all of my guard down. The Orioles can hurt me at this point. Like there is no I don't think that they can win a World Series this year. I don't think that's possible because I think the profile of a World Series winner has to include 2 top of the rotation pitchers and I think one more big bat than they have. Like I don't believe they can win a World Series. Like outside of that, they can hurt me. Like if they, for whatever reason, were to lose games and, just miss out on a playoff spot this year, I would be hurt by it. I am that caught up. I am that romantically invested in this baseball team right now.
But isn't it better to have loved and have had your heart broken than to have never loved at all?
I struggle with that because I know that's true, but yet at the same time, a year ago, I was protecting myself. Like a year ago, as things were turning, I was still saying, like, hey, but it's not fair. I can't judge them by, do they make the playoffs? I just love the fact they are playing meaningful baseball games. I kept saying, like, if they can get to Labor Day and Labor Day can feel like it matters, that's something we haven't felt in a long time. That'll be cool. I can appreciate it. And I'm, like, racing past that now. They can have a great season. If they fall short or if they get swept out in the first round or something, I'm going to be hurt. Like, they can hurt me now. I am so caught up in how this
I'm kind of happy that it's here, though, right? Aren't you happy that we're finally back to this, where you feel like you're going to have meaningful games in September? Trying to figure out, am I watching the Ravens or the Orioles play, or like all those things, setting both TVs up so you don't miss anything.
Yep.
I love all this stuff, man.
Oh, I'm with you. I'm measuring that with, hey, but have you noticed the offense hasn't been great for the last couple of weeks, right? Like I'm measuring that against some of these other things.
Everybody's not telling me how wrong I was about Jorge Mateo for the past 2 weeks since he's not hitting.
Yeah.
Like it's all those things that encompass it. But ultimately we want to see him do well. I think the thing for us, we were talking about it this morning, is we had Rick Dempsey on, and he said at some point somebody's going to go to Mike Elias and say, look, this guy's available. What are we willing to give up to go get him? Like, I mean, what happens if the Diamondbacks say we're willing to move on from Zach Gallen, or God forbid the Pirates look over at Mitch Keller, who's finally figured it out and said, hey, we're willing to trade him. What happens if the Angels say, hey, we're willing to move Ohtani? Are you willing to, give them a bunch of the farm system to get the guy you want?
Let's talk about that. I still don't think they can take on a rental this year. I still don't think they can do that. I think they can take on a player maybe with this in another year, like a Corbin Burns type, right? Like I could do that because I can start painting a picture where next year you could have a chance to compete for a World Series. I just don't think it's real. I don't think you're one player away from being a World Series winner this year. So I still would be very opposed to anything for a rental at this point. As much as I think part of it is they have to solve the problem of the logjam they have in certain situations, right? Like they can't just hold on to 20 middle infield prospects for forever. You're going to have to start doing something there to overall improve the team. I just don't think they can look at rentals.
Yeah, and I think the hard part is we as fans looking at the team and knowing that they're playing well and we enjoy watching them. It's like I talked about this at the beginning of the season. You can clearly upgrade at first base, one of the corner outfield spots, second base. I think you can upgrade at shortstop, but we've talked about that. What are your plans for Jackson Holiday? Is he off limits to any type of trade? If you're depending on who you're going to get, is that an untouchable now with the other guys that you deem untouchable? So, but there's a lot of players. Like I hate saying this, but it wouldn't shock me at some point if they looked at Cedric Mullins and said, "Hey, we can do this."
Let's talk about that, right? Let's talk about that because we've been having that conversation, and Stan and I got into it on Friday, and this is even before what happened on Friday night. I have turned when it comes to Cedric Mullins. I have turned to he's too valuable to you. And I get it, like the arm stinks, and at some point if Colton Cowser is the guy you think he is, maybe you're moving him to one of the other corner outfield spots. But the totality of what he brings to the table, everybody talks about how 2021 was an anomaly, and it was. We all know he's not going to be a 30-home run guy. That's nuts. It was an amazing season. He's not a 30-home run hitter. And everything about him is
and the ball was juiced that year, too.
Correct.
So.
And everything about him is so unique, right? Because he's going to be 30 by the time he would hit free agency. It's hard to pinpoint exactly what his fit is within this. But I have convinced myself that, and I know he's not going to hit 455 with runners in scoring position for the entirety of the season either, but I do think that we've steadily seen him improve hitting with runners in scoring position the last couple of years, and we can now say it's a strength of his. So add in the way the rules were changed to benefit base stealers. I am more convinced that as much as I want them to invest in Rutschman right now, that if they were to come out and do like an Adam Jones type of thing where they were to announce a 5 or 6 year deal with Cedric Mullins next week, it would be explosive. It would be something that everybody could get behind because I think he offers you enough. He is valuable enough in the totality of what he presents. His range, of course, being insane. And that catch on Friday night that everybody's forgotten about because he hit for the cycle was bonkers. I think the totality of that value is you need to start saying somebody's a part of this. And I love the idea of Colton Cowser, but you've got an answer. You've got a guy who kind of does a little bit of everything, and while he's not a superstar, is a damn good baseball player, and I think you have an opportunity right now.
Yeah, I'm in that boat, too. I don't want to see him get moved, period. I love his defense out there. I love what he does for the team. I think I know what type of player he is. Every once in a while he's going to run into a couple, set the table. I just think he's a good guy, and it's a pleasure to have that guy in Baltimore with the style of play that he has. He hasn't shown he's injury prone, like any of those things that would sway you away from signing a guy to a long-term deal. So, yeah, I'd rather see him stay here. I don't think there's many outfielders in the game that are as good as he. And I think you talked about his one major weakness being his arm. I can live with that, especially with the talent that you have in the other corner spots. And even if it's not one of the guys you have there now, it's going to be somebody else that they covet because this team does a really good job as far as evaluating talent and bringing guys in.
Yeah, and again, if he's got to be a left fielder in the future, I can live with that too, right? Because I still think that the range matters, and you'd be doing that based on the idea that Colton Cowser is just that good, right? So give me all of that. Sign it. I don't know. I just feel like at some point this team has to stand up and say, this is our guy. You be in love with this guy. Don't worry about whether he's going to be gone. And I've said that, of course, we know Rutschman is the answer because Rutschman is the superstar. But I start to feel a little bit of the Jones-Machado thing. We're all very upset about Machado and how they handled that. But thankfully they had Adam Jones, who was a centerpiece for this franchise for a long time and became a truly beloved player in this city. And I know that Cedric Mullins might not quite be Adam Jones, certainly isn't the vocal guy that Adam Jones was. But there is something there, and it wouldn't pacify you not signing Adley Rutschman. You need to figure that out, too. But I think it goes a long way to just say to a community, fall in love. That thing that you felt on Friday night when you saw one of the most magical moments that you've seen in recent Oriole Park, Camden Yards history, embrace that. It's okay to fall in love with this guy. We're telling you he's going to be around for a little while. You can let your guard down a little bit and just say, this is my guy who I want to celebrate.
Yeah, I agree. I mean, look, there's a lot of talent on this team. People are going to develop their favorite players and who they like. And the hard part is when you get good, guys become expendable. So, I mean, that's where we're at right now is trying to figure out what this team's going to look like in the future. So I don't know. I trust the front office. They're going to make some moves that I probably don't like, but I trust them.
Right. And look, the Mancini thing was painful a year ago, but we got it. We understood where they were as a franchise and the move that they were making. And it's still painful because we loved him. I just don't know. This one to me, you start to get to the point where you've got to start announcing that players are a part of this thing. You've got to start figuring that out and recognizing the moment. What's going on with
some guys locked up for the long term?
Yep. What's going on with you guys this week?
Well, I hope everybody's back. Ed was out today with a bad back. As you can hear, people are angry at themselves and each other driving on the road out here. I don't know if you can hear those horns in the background.
I can hear them.
But no, it'll be all of us back together, kind of busting each other's chops. Hopefully Ed's back tomorrow, but should be a good week.
Of course, concretelocks.com, C-O-N-N, concretelocks.com as well, and picks at pressboxonline.com. Appreciate you, pal. We'll talk to you again next Monday. Love you, buddy.
Thanks, man. I'll see you guys.
Jeremy Conn, Big Bad Morning Show, 105.7 The Fan with us here on GCR. I did somebody react to my comment and said, tell me why it's different than, say an Anthony Santander who does so many different things. So it's a fair question, right? Like, why is it that I have anointed Cedric Mullins? Well, I guess what I would start with is that I don't know how many there's two things to me that Anthony Santander does. Reasonable pop, and obviously his arm.
You saw him steal that base yesterday.
Thank you. It's a great point. Speedster. Absolute, just horse. I like Anthony Santander, and I don't know that you're going to specifically do better. This becomes the weird, Heston Kjerstad is when Anthony Santander, to me, goes under the microscope, right? And Heston Kjerstad looks like he's flying at the moment. So I think there's room for Cedric Mullins even if Colton Cowser pans out. I think a primary outfield, and I get it, like you're going to play more guys than this moving forward, of some combination of Colton Cowser, Cedric Mullins, and Heston Kjerstad works. And I'm projecting a little bit there because I'm saying Heston Kjerstad by next season is here. And I don't know that they're in as much of a rush about that, but, this is a college baseball player. This is a little bit. I think the way that he's performed, you're moving that forward a little bit. I don't feel quite as good about a future outfield of Cowser, Santander, and then throwing in. And I know that in all these scenarios I'm dismissing Austin Hayes, and that's probably unfair because he's had a nice season, obviously.
Missing Ryan McKenna.
I think that one is a little bit more acceptable in this process. I think we can live a little bit more with dismissing Ryan McKenna. I don't know who Ryan Kenna is. But Austin Hayes, I do think, is a factor in all of this. I'm not trying to suggest that that's not the case, but I think we all believe that Colton Cowser and Heston Kjerstad are definitely two parts of your outfield moving forward. So to me, it's sort of like, well, then who makes the most sense to be the third? Because I'm confident in those two guys at the moment. I mean, unless something changes.
And it seems like, Cedric's highs have been
high
enough.
Again, and I'm dismissing 30 home runs. I can't even talk about 30 home runs. It's absurd. He's not going to hit 30 home runs.
Because it feels weird to say he's more consistent than Santander, but it kind of feels that way.
What I would say
things
is
he brings.
That's sort of what it's. There's more. I think there's more complete. If Santander was a 40 home run guy, I would feel differently about this, right? Like if he was
Adam Duvall, maybe, I don't know.
Yeah.
If he was Adam Duvall.
Yeah, if he was Adam.
Along? Yeah.
I probably do. Now, of course, you're trading off something there because I think he's a better overall hitter than Adam Duvall has been. You'd have to tell me that I'm wrong about that.
He's had 40, I think, at some point.
What's
Duvall,
that?
Duvall had 40 at 1 year.
No, I mean a more complete hitter.
Oh, yeah, average-wise.
Yes. Duvall's definitely had some down seasons as far as his average is concerned. But you would dive into the stats a little bit more and say, well, look at his OBP versus. I don't. Off the top of my head, I don't know all of those things. But yeah, if Anthony Santander was a consistent turbo power, that the power was just crazy. Last year he had 33 home runs, and you started to say, okay, well, if that's the power you can bring, you make a spot. You figure that out. And I'm not telling you that I want to cast aside Anthony Santander either. What would he be on pace for this year? They're about a quarter of the way through the season. He's got 5 home. He'd be on pace for about a 20 home run season this year. I think last year the question was, do you believe that that was the power that he could present? Because if he started trending in that direction, if all of a sudden this year he goes on a stretch where you start to realize, like, this dude is going to be a 35 home run hitter. I mean, year in, year out, that's game-changing. But that's not really, trying to project some of these numbers gets difficult because then he did hit 11 home runs in the pandemic season. So now project that, right? Like, if that's a complete season, that's a 40-plus.
Right.
That's a pace to hit
30, at least 35, yeah.
Like, so it's hard. It's hard to get these answers. I am more inclined to say if you feel like you need to trade someone at the major league level to keep fortifying, Santander looks like the better path to me than trading Mullins. Because I just feel like without me knowing confidently that he's that type of bat, I'm going to end up, I really am going to end up talking myself. This is a good question. I don't remember who asked it. Dave asked this. Because then somebody would say, well, who is your power bat at that point, right? Like, if you're moving on from Santander, where is the power coming from?
You could just be like the White Sox and not
have
the power.
But the answer would be Mountcastle, right?
Yeah.
Like, that would be but how confident are you in Mountcastle as being a definitive power bat moving forward? Boy, this is now I'm really going to
start platooning the four
Well, but then the answer almost becomes, right, like, then you're moving Santander to at some point, I don't think you can both have Santander and Mountcastle and have questions about both of them as being like they're capable power bats, but they're not consistent, defined. With confidence they're 30 to 35 home run hitters every season.
Or they really, they start developing Santander as a first baseman. Cowser and Hurstad, I guess you're not going to make them play first base. But Santander, make them figure out first base. And if you're ready to move on from Mountcastle, I don't know if that's fair to say.
And I'm not. I don't want to say that either.
Right.
You know what I mean? Like, this is the difficult part about having this conversation, and it's Jeremy's point that awkward decisions have to be made. You can't just keep everyone. I am circling Cedric Mullins because I think that the complete package and the track record that you now have of the complete package at the major league level is so valuable that I can't move on from that. I can live if a guy does something pretty. It's so like I'm setting 40 home runs as like the benchmark, and that's such an absurd number, right? Like you're a viable power bat if you're hitting 30 home runs. If I could be confident that you're going to be a 30 home run hitter every year, then I want you in the middle of the order. But I can't have multiple guys in the middle of the order that I'm not confident are that guy. I would also say that maybe you don't have to trade any of them this year. Again, maybe the real answer is that you have to trade your middle infield prospects. The difficulty being they probably want to do a little bit of both things, and it's the part that we won't like. That when they say they're the next Tampa, they're looking to maximize someone's value in order to continue to fortify their system, but maybe at the same time trade from their strengths in order to fortify other places on their major league team. It could be both things. It could be that they both trade prospects to acquire a pitcher and trade a major league hitter to acquire prospects.
So we do see a Cedric Mullins type deal, like we see them deal with Cedric Mullins, just because
they could.
They know they have Cowser coming, and
right. I'm saying I don't think they should.
Right.
I think Mullins is a guy they should now look at and identify as a piece of this thing. And there's a 4 to 5 year window there. Again, he's 28 right now. If you gave him a 5 or 6 year deal right now, I don't think it's going to be so horrendous at the end of it. Clearly, you're not giving him a 10-year deal, but that's kind of the point. It's what makes it more. Cedric Mullins knows his situation, too. Given that he's going to be post-30 by the time he gets to free agency, presumably he and his camp would be a little bit more inclined to play ball in extension talks right now than, say, Adley Rutschman, who you got to bowl over because he's got one big shot at becoming a free agent in a couple of years. Mullins is in a unique situation where I don't know that you really want to go to free agency as a center fielder post 30. You do well if you can continue to produce over the next couple of seasons, but there's a limit to it. Whereas if you can get a reasonable deal right now that pays you well, keeps you in a market that you like, where you've been happy, where you've been a part of the turnaround, I think there's a unique opportunity here with Cedric Mullins to find a deal that works for both parties and that is beneficial and, again, starts to stake a claim. And then I would almost say you start solving everything else from there. You solve these things as they become problems. I don't feel like you have to run out anyone at the deadline this year. Their answer would be, well, then where are the roster spots coming from for the next group of guys? When we do call up Colton Cowser, well, Turn Vavra, that's where the roster spot comes from. No offense. Nice enough guy. But that's where the roster... Okay, where does the playing time come from? Then it gets a bit more tricky. That's the part, right? The part is the logjam. The part is the not everyone can be on the major league team. So where are the opportunities coming from? Maybe the last 2 weeks have been a reminder of, as enamored as we were with Jorge Mateo's start, if they can find someone that still thinks that Jorge Mateo is an asset, the last couple of weeks might have reminded that his best asset is as a trade piece and not necessarily as – and that's a tough one because Jorge Mateo looked like, the MVP of the league for the first month of the season. But that was probably not a fair way of looking at Jorge Mateo, and even if he's a good baseball player, you start doing the math on, but that's an area where we have a lot coming. He's at an advanced age already. That's where we can come away with not only creating the opportunity for the next player, but at the same time also fortifying, again, bringing in more prospects that we like as this continues to go. It's very difficult, but I just think that's what the Orioles are going to try to be, as a team that's doing both things, that's both acquiring and moving and trying to figure out a way to maximize. I just don't think Cedric Mullins should be the way that they do it. I've come around on that. I think Cedric Mullins, the range, the speed, this year he's been mashing against lefties. It's insane what he's doing against lefties this year, and obviously insane what he's doing with runners in scoring position.
Just got to keep batting him leadoff against lefties. I mean, at this point, I don't know why. Why not?
Yeah, I agree.
Yeah, I mean, I agree with you.
It's weird because his numbers against Raiders are actually down, like really down this year. So it's like a kind of a weird anomaly, but I do think that corrects a little bit as the season goes on. I think it has to. Like, I think it's nuts. I had to pull up those splits again. I was looking at them last night. Like, is this right? There's just no way.
I mean, I agree with you, and I would love to see Cedric Mullins be part of this complete turnaround as they, hopefully win a World Series in the next several years.
And it's weird because we
want when we hear things like next Tampa, it makes you think Cedric Mullins is.
At some point though, someone has to be a centerpiece. Someone has to be a guy that we're allowed to fall in love with. You have to identify that. And Mullins, at the price, makes all the sense in the world. Now, I get it. A year ago at this time, we were talking about Austin Hayes as being that guy, right? But now I can say, okay, we were swept up. We are a few years into this with Cedric Mullins. I said, for those of you that were disappointed by Cedric Mullins a year ago, I thought you missed it. And I brought this up a few times. I thought Cedric Mullins' 2021 season was his 22 season was him backing up that 2021 was legitimate in announcing him as a quality player. It didn't back up 30 home runs because that's not what he is. And if you were judging him by that, it was unfair. That's not what Cedric Mullins is going to bring to the table. But it backed up him being a quality player. Pull up what pull up Fangraphs WAR. Pull up what his WAR was from a year ago.
A year ago?
Because I know earlier I did the math that he was leading the team in WAR right now. By the way, this year these splits are just weird. 304 against lefties, 250 against righties.
Oof. Wow.
It makes no sense. It's befuddling.
He'll have to go back to switch hitting, right-handed against right hitters.
Right.
Or right-handed pitchers.
Yeah, and left-handed against left-handed pitchers, the weirdest thing in the world, wouldn't it be? I do think that will get corrected a little bit, and I think that as that gets corrected a little bit, he's been a 267 hitter this year. I think that number could slightly uptick. I think he could be more like a 270, 275 hitter this season, which would be extraordinary.
Yeah, he was second on the team last year in WAR.
What was the number?
3.5. So Adley was 5.3.
So that's not overwhelming, right?
Mm-hmm.
Like, let's not pretend like that makes him a superstar. But again, I think it speaks to all of the many things he does for a baseball team, despite the fact that he doesn't have an arm, right? Like, all of the things that he can offer to help a baseball team win. He's not a star player. He's not ever going to be Ken Griffey Jr. He did make an all-star game, obviously. I don't know if he'll ever make another one, right? Like, I don't know.
I mean,
part of it is that the Orioles aren't going to need all-stars. Like, you're not going to have to squint to put an Oriole in an all-star game again. Maybe when you're that good, it does happen to be that more players get invited just because you're a good player on a good team.
If we had to pick our all-stars now, we won't do that.
I mean,
Cano, Bautista,
and Rutschman, obviously,
yes.
I think are the three that you would believe would be all-stars at the moment. And even Bautista, I would say, is like not a guarantee, just because you never know in construction of an all-star roster, needing to get certain players on from certain teams.
It seems like he's a little kind of just that, what am I watching when you see him on the mound? Like,
what do you mean?
Just like because he's so big and he throws so hard.
Oh, I think he's
I think
there's a bit of a phenomenon there. I don't
yeah.
disagree with that. That might make him interesting, but it would just be a question of, do they need the spot for somebody else, right? Like, do they need to get somebody else's relief arm on the team? And Cano has been so ridiculous that you kind of can't leave Cano off at this point. So if they said, hey, we got it, and I don't know who I'm talking about. If there's some, if there's some Royals reliever that has to make the team, then they say, hey, look, we got to pick one or the other. We're going to pick Cano because Cano's been ridiculous. But, yes, I would say those three guys would be probably all-stars at the moment. And then there would be, argument for Mateo if he gets back to that point. If Mullins, there would be argument for other guys. But I think those three would be the Orioles all-stars right now. All right, we got to wrap up. Yeah. I got things to do.
Quentin Williams took the Jets out of his bio.
I saw that. I have no reaction to that whatsoever. None. Today's show brought to you by your local Toyota dealer. BuyAToyota.com. The Toyota Tacoma comes in a range of models and trim lines, so you can choose the perfect Tacoma to reflect your unique personality and driving habits. Check out BuyAToyota.com for deals on new Tacomas from your local Toyota dealer today. Tidbit is brought to you by PressBoxOnline.com/offers. There's some big news in the world of PointsBet last night. Fanatics is apparently acquiring PointsBet, which is a big story. But
from NBC, I guess, like
PointsBet.
PointsBet was NBC, wasn't it?
I don't think they were owned by NBC. No, they
might
have
like
partnered. I think they might have partnered
different
with NBC,
things.
but I don't think they were owned by NBC at all. You can get 5-second chance bets from PointsBet when you deposit and bet your first $50, but you have to go to PressBoxOnline.com/offers in order to claim this incentive and much more.
So Joel Embiid, he averaged 33.1 points per game in the regular season. He was the leading scorer in the NBA, and then he only averaged 23 points a game in the playoffs. That is it was 23.7, so it was a minus 9.4 point drop-off from the regular season to the playoffs. That's the largest drop-off by any league MVP in NBA history. So Joel Embiid did not have a great playoff.
Well, he and Harden can't do it all by themselves. I don't know if you heard that after the game.
Is that what he said?
Apparently somebody, by the way, the other clip after the game was...
well, he used the Giannis quote, right?
Well, he did. Yeah, he brought something up about that. But no, somebody asked Harden, like, what's your relationship like with Doc Rivers? You said he was a big part of the reason why you wanted to come here. And he was like, yeah, we're fine.
Did you see Ben Simmons put on his story? He was just watching the game. Just watching.
I mean, what is
the
Ben?
Sixers lost? I guess because he doesn't like the Sixers still.
That's fine. But, like, you're Ben Simmons, guy. Hit a shot in your life, and then maybe you get to talk.
I guess
imagine
he's at the point
Ben
where he just
Simmons
doesn't
trolling.
care. Yeah, like he's taken it all, so he's like, what do I care? I'm just.
That's fine, but like, there's just no value to it whatsoever. Like, some people have the right to troll. Like, you really screwed this one up. What the F were they supposed to do about Ben Simmons, the guy that wouldn't shoot when he was 2 feet from the basket? What are you supposed to do about that? Again, I get they look better in Brooklyn. I understand that, like, he actually hit a shot or two, and it was like, whoa. but stop. You're Ben Simmons.
Jason Tatum became the first player ever to record 50 points in the regular season, postseason, and the All-Star game in the same year.
It's the most meaningless stat that you could have ever introduced to this.
What? I mean,
who
it's impressive.
cares?
It's impressive.
No,
he had an impressive game.
50 points in the regular season. The postseason is impressive. I agree with that.
Josh Naylor hit a go-ahead home run in the 8th inning on Friday, Saturday, and yesterday.
I did not know that.
He is the first player ever first player since the expansion era, 1961, to hit a go-ahead homer in the 8th inning or later in 3 straight games. Josh Naylor for the Cleveland Guardians.
Good for Josh Naylor.
Yes.
I have nothing else to say, but good for Josh Naylor.
Monty Williams, he is out as the Phoenix Suns head coach.
Yeah, Monty Williams is one of the most beloved figures in basketball. I think a lot of people know his story of his wife passing away a few years ago, and he's just thought of as a leader and a good man, and I respect the hell out of Monty Williams, and I was really not only excited when he got the job in Phoenix, but what he did in the bubble to get that team to believe that they had the right to win was really incredible. But, like Luke texted me on Saturday night. I was watching Guardians of the Galaxy when the news came out.
Great movie.
I did. I thought it was really good. The first 40 minutes were tricky.
Really?
Because it was not very funny for the first 40 minutes, and it was kind of
there was enough Drax moments.
It left me feeling awkward, and then from there it just picked up and was so good after that point. Like, God, it was unbelievable. I'm not sure how I feel about the direction. Oh, God, I got to text what's his face about it. I got to text.
Billy Cook.
Yeah, Billy Cook about. I have a lot of thoughts because I understand why he's conflicted about like the future of all of this because.
Yeah.
I don't want to give anything away. I mean, I don't know. It's been 2 weeks. I feel like everybody's got the chance to go see it. But there's 2 very diverging paths moving forward, which I think is not.
It seems like they're kind of almost setting up, some Guardians TV shows on Disney Plus.
Well, that's the thing.
Sort of
Nobody can answer me like what's going to be a movie versus what's going to be a Disney Plus thing. I thought it was the end. Like I thought going in, this was
it's James Gunn's last Marvel movie. So like before he's
going
to
DC, which is stupid.
Good luck, bud.
Stupid. I know that he's James Gunn and all that, but like that's stupid. I'm just in a weird place with. Am I excited?
Just how they all split.
Like, but like, what am I excited about? Am I excited about it? Like, this seemed like it was set up so well to be the end. You know what I mean? Like to just be the conclusion of everything. That then I was like, do I really want? I don't know. I'm in a weird place with that. I'm gonna give me Billy's number. We got to text about it.
I will. So he joins Monty Williams.
Hell, if you don't want to, just leave. Star-Lord's going one way.
Yes.
Rocket and Groot are taking a new group in a different way, involving the star of the film is the kid from We're the Millers.
Will Poulter.
I cannot believe
they needed to take his shirt off earlier.
Holy F. How is that kid that? How?
There was another movie I think he's in that I think
he was in Dope Sick that I remembered, and I started to see him becoming more mature, and he was different in Dope Sick obviously than he was in We're the Millers.
I'm trying to figure out why he worked out like so hard. Like there had to have been another movie.
Jesus Christ. What is that? It's one of the most ridiculous glow-ups in the history of humankind. Holy hell. Will Poulter was the dopey kid from We're the Millers.
Wait, you guys are getting paid?
That Jennifer Aniston, Jason Sudeikis movie where he got to make out with both of them, despite the fact that he was a nerd. I don't know who the other girl was. I don't remember the girl. I don't remember. But my God, he is a star.
It was Emma Roberts. Yeah.
That was Emma Roberts.
Yeah.
Jesus. His presence on the screen was unbelievable, and then he obviously was the biggest scene of the movie was his scene. Jesus. I cannot. How? It's one of the most incredible. I try to explain Nikola Jokic, Shohei Ohtani. Go try to explain this. Will Poulter is a star. So bizarre, man. So bizarre. I thought he was McLovin. I thought he was Christopher Mintz-Plasse, who probably could walk down the street right now. Well, we'd probably recognize that he was McLovin.
Maybe.
But, who knows what he's doing with his career? This guy is a movie star. It's incredible. Sorry, go ahead.
Music was great, too.
Oh, yeah, the Monty Williams thing.
Yes.
They lost their last 2 elimination games by 50 points each.
Yeah. Combined 60 or something.
I'm not saying I was rooting for him to be fired, but I get it.
Right.
I'm nervous about Matt Ishbia because the reports were he's making all of the decisions.
He's going to hire himself.
You've been.
It's like you saw me dap up Jokic.
Yeah, thank you. And you played basketball at Michigan State, so you're definitely qualified. I'm a little bit nervous about Matt Ishbia. The Suns had the worst owner outside of Dan Snyder in sports and Robert Sarver for years. You read that report again. There were some words that he casually used that he should not have been casually using. He was terrible. So I'm a little bit nervous about that, but I understand. I do understand. You can't just get your brains beat in back-to-back home elimination games and just be like, hey, but all's good, right? It doesn't work that way. And you're not getting rid of Durant, and you're not getting rid of Devin Booker. They're going to try to get rid of DeAndre Ayton, and there'll be some questions in hindsight about, should Ayton have been the guy that you were trying to trade in order to land Durant? And I don't know that they would have wanted that, but boy, do they look like a team that could have used Bridges a lot more than Ayton during the course of the playoffs. So they'll try to do something with Ayton. I just don't know. I don't know what you can get for DeAndre Ayton at this point. I guess there's always bad teams, and having a good player is better than not having a good player. But yikes, DeAndre Ayton.
Yeah. Just interested. So the last 4 head coaches, so over the last 6 seasons, 4 different head coaches have had the best record in the NBA. They are all no longer currently on the team.
Because Budenholzer,
Quinn Snyder with the Jazz in 2020 had the best record. And then Mike D'Antoni with the Rockets in 2018. Of course, no longer there. Yeah. Monty Williams joins that list. Friday and Saturday, I hope you saw that the Cardinals beat the Red Sox as the Red Sox blew saves back-to-back nights with Kenley Jansen. Yeah, it was a real shame. The first time the Red Sox have lost back-to-back games after leading in the 9th inning since June 27th and 28th of 2000.
That's
against the Orioles. Both of those games against the Orioles.
In 2000? What year?
June 27 and 28th, 2000.
2000?
And the Orioles.
I don't remember anything about that.
And then the next day I was born.
Look at that. Look at that. It's been all downhill from there.
Starting to come up, it seems like, right?
Yeah, I hope.
Mitch Keller obviously had an unbelievable game yesterday. He became the first Pirates pitcher ever with 13 strikeouts, no walks, and no runs allowed against the Orioles. He also became the 7th pitcher to do that against. Wait, let me make sure I get my math right. I think he was actually the 8th. 4, 5, 6, 7. Yeah, he was the 8th pitcher since 2000 to do that against the Orioles. I want to see if you can name the other 7 because they are all very notable pitchers that went 13 strikeouts, no runs, and no walks against the Orioles since 2000.
They're all very notable pitchers.
Yes. Surprisingly, only 2 of them have won Cy Young.
This is the weird part. Okay.
Which is why, because I looked at the list, I was like, oh, wow, these guys are all, 3 of them have won Cy Young.
CC Sabathia.
Not CC.
David Price.
Not David Price.
All right.
You're in the right. These are
Chris
good guesses.
Sale.
Chris Sale with the Boston Red Sox in 2017. 13 strikeouts in 8 innings against the Orioles.
Andy Pettit.
Not Andy Pettit.
Mike Mussina.
Mike Mussina did do it with the Yankees in 2001. 13 strikeouts in a complete game.
Roger Clemens.
Not Roger Clemens.
Felix Hernandez.
Not Felix.
Hisashi Iwakuma when he threw a no-hitter.
No.
It did happen, though. Okay. How about Chris Archer?
Not Chris Archer. The Ray did it in 2017.
2017. Morton?
Not Charlie Morton.
He would have still been in Houston at that point, right?
Yeah, I think so, yeah.
There was a Ray in 27. That's the problem with looking at the Rays.
Yeah.
Is trying to remember.
He won the Cy Young the next year.
He won the Cy Young. Oh, oh my God. Shut up.
It's not a Ray now.
Yeah. Blake Snell.
Yep, Blake Snell. Blake Snell. 13 strikeouts in 7 innings against the Orioles in 2017. So that happened. So Chris Sale and Snell did it within 2 weeks of each other in 2017.
That was a rough year.
Yeah.
You thought they were going to be good. They were not.
Nope. No, they were not.
Heartbreaking.
Somebody did it in 2021, 2019, and
that's not helpful.
Okay.
That's not helpful. We got Verlander.
Not Verlander.
Greinke.
Not Greinke.
Scherzer when he was in Detroit.
Not Scherzer. So it's a Yankee and a Guardian.
A Yankee and a Guardian. Kluber?
Not Kluber.
Clevenger?
Not Clevenger.
Carrasco?
Not Carrasco.
Bauer?
The other one? Not Bauer.
The other one. The other
He's still
one.
on the team, yeah.
Who's still on the team?
Yes.
Oh, God, my brain. Named all of them.
I know.
Who did I not name? Shut up.
All right.
God, what is wrong with you? Let me think.
Sorry, I don't like seeing you struggle over here.
Damn, man, I'm just trying to think over here. Oh, it is 12:29. All right, we might have to speed this up.
Shares a last name with a...
Shut up. Don't do that. Don't do that. Still on the... Quantrill?
No, not Quantrill.
Bieber?
Shane Bieber, yes.
I thought I said
2019.
Bieber. That's
no,
why
he did not say Bieber. Shane Bieber, 15 strikeouts in a complete game, shutout.
Oh, he shares the last name with a pop star. All right,
yes,
fine. All right,
yes.
That's where you go.
We have a Yankee who did it in 2021.
Yankee did it in 21. Cole?
Yes, Garrett Cole. Garrett Cole had 13 strikeouts. Then we have he is known for being on the Mets, but he did this with the Twins in 2004. Two-time Cy Young winner.
R.A. Dickey.
Not R.A. Dickey.
Two-time Cy... Oh, Santana.
Yes, Johan Santana had 14 strikeouts. And then in 2000, this Boston Red Sox pitcher.
2000. Hideo Nomo when he threw the no-hitter.
No.
He also no-hit the Orioles as a Red Sox. That did happen. Tim Wakefield.
Not Tim Wakefield.
Pedro Martinez.
Pedro Martinez, yes. Those are the 8 Orioles with Mitch Keller doing that. 13 strikeouts. No runs, no walks against the O's.
All right, we got to fly. Tubular is brought to you. What the hell happens to us? We get so bogged down, and all of a sudden I look up, I'm like, Jesus Christ. Tubular is brought to you by A.J. Michaels, expert and award-winning A.J. Michaels Heating, AC, Plumbing, and Home Performance. Will improve your home's energy efficiency and comfort levels. AC season is coming up fast. New rebates and discounts are available. More at ajmichaels.com. Of course, Orioles, Angels, tonight, 6:30 on Mass, and Shohei Ohtani, Grayson Rodriguez. Great night to be at the ballpark. The Preakness Draw this afternoon, 5:30 from the Guinness Brewery is where they're hosting it. You can watch it on Maryland Racing's YouTube page. Game 7 tonight, 8 o'clock on ESPN, Kraken and Stars for the right to take on the Golden Knights in the Western Conference Finals. The baseball you can find at glennclarkradio.com, and USA for Liverpool Leicester at 3, WWE Monday Night Raw at 8. Some non-sports highlights?
New episode of White House Plumbers and TMZ Investigates. It's Britney Spears after The Price of Freedom.
Sure.
They're trying to make it all dramatic. That's on Fox.
Very good. If you haven't signed up yet, PressBoxOnline.com/contest. Win 4 tickets to each of the local minor league baseball teams. An Easy Pass Maryland on-the-go transponder preloaded with $25 and a $50 gas card from Royal Farms to help you get around. Must be 18 or older. Sweepstakes ends June 14th. PressBoxOnline.com/offers. Thanks today to Jeremy Conn. Thanks to Jen Adams from Loyola. Thanks to Marty Mornhinweg. Thanks to Mark Gubicza and to Rick Dempsey. We'll get all of it up in the greatest hits section of the
Oh, my God, it's so good.
tab at glennclarkradio.com. Tomorrow on the program, Police Commissioner Michael Harrison, the Baltimore City, is going to join us in studio. So look forward to seeing him. We're going to talk about being Preakness Week. We're also going to talk about this downtown safety, things like that, trying to get more people to go to games. We're going to talk about legal weed and what is that?
Ooh.
I really do want to know these. Like, can I just walk around the streets smoking weed? Like, what? I don't know what the rules are. Not that I'm saying I'm going to do that. Just what are the rules? So we have.
Glenn needs to know.
But I'm fascinated by it. Like, I really am fascinated by it. Can I just? You're wandering around between.
You do it on the stream, like we can just.
I don't. Like Elon Musk did once upon a time with Joe Rogan. I don't know. I don't know what the rules are. We'll talk about that with Michael Harrison. And Patrick will join us as he does every Tuesday. Stuff and Things, of course, as well. Do we have any Stuff and Things?
Yeah, Stuff and Things.
Okay. Yeah, thanks to everybody at PressBox, all of our great sponsors and partners, A.J. Michaels, Glory Days Grill, Royal Farms, Costas Inn, All-American Lacrosse, Birdland Sports, your local Toyota dealer, buyatoyota.com. Thanks to Griffin, at Griffin_Bass. Follow us, Twitter, Instagram, TikTok, at Glenn Clark Radio. Have a great Monday night. Go Birds. Duke sucks.